Chapter 59-57. Lu Dachang laughed and said, "Little girl, when did I threaten or intimidate you? I had only expressed my love for the starry sky flowing flame gold. If I couldn't get it, I would definitely think about it day and night, unable to sleep. I would then constantly think about the person who obtained the starry sky flowing flame gold. These were all facts. How did it become a threat? You can't falsely accuse a good person." Linny suddenly felt happy. This old scoundrel, he really hadn't changed at all. His pestering skills were still so good. Although Huang Wenjing, this beauty, also relied on her mouth to make a living. But if she wanted to arm wrestle with this old scoundrel, it would probably be very difficult. However, Huang Wenjing didn't want to entangle with Lu Dachang at all, and directly responded in a cold tone. "Senior Lu, please behave yourself. Apart from the normal bidding, don't make any personal comments, otherwise your bid will be invalid. Hey little girl, are you threatening this old man? Call out the head of your auction house. Even if Li Zaixiang is here, he would have to speak politely to this old man. You little girl, are you trying to provoke me?" Lu Dachang's voice suddenly showed a bit of anger, but Linny knew that it was all an act. This old guy wouldn't get angry easily. His external performance was just an illusion. Whoever believed him would be a fool. Huang Wenjing remained unmoved. Even the smile that she had been maintaining all this time disappeared. But this cold and delicate appearance looked quite fun. 455 spirit jades going once. Is there any friend who wants to increase the price? The starry sky flowing flame gold is a rare treasure. Huang Wenjing spoke in an unhurried manner. Since the start of the auction, she had never incited others to bid during the countdown. Today Lu Dachang had angered her, so she deliberately did this. Regarding Huang Wenjing's approach, obviously no one felt that there was anything wrong with it. They even hoped that the 5th or 6th booth would continue to bid against the arrogant Lu Dachang. These two booths obviously didn't lack money, and weren't afraid of trouble. Unfortunately, after they respectively bid once, there was no movement. 45 million spirit jades going twice. Huang Wenjing's eyes swept across the private room on the second floor, and there was a hint of disappointment in them. It seemed that Lu Dachang's threat had worked. Otherwise, there would have been a new offer. For such a large clump of starry sky flowing flame gold, 4,550 spirit jades was definitely worth it. Even an additional 30 to 40 spirit jades would be within the normal range. Unfortunately, with that damn Lu Dachang's interference, it seemed unlikely that anyone would offer a higher price. Knowing that there was no point in delaying for more time, Huang Wenjing finally announced the third bid. She then finalized the deal, officially confirming that the starry sky flowing flame gold now belonged to Lu Dachang. Languza asked curiously, "Boss, do you know that scoundrel? He didn't seem like a good person, right? Even if you know him, you don't have to be afraid of him, right?" "Who said I'm afraid of him? I just feel that since there are free things, why should I spend my own spiritual jades? Wouldn't it be interesting to squeeze something out of such a scoundrel?" Lenny showed a faint smile, and explained to Languza. Languza's eyes suddenly lit up, and he asked with excitement, "Boss, that old scoundrel wouldn't agree so easily, right? If he acts arrogant at that time, can I beat him up?" "I don't think that old scoundrel would give you such an opportunity. Well, let's not talk about him for now. Let's continue looking at the next auction item." Linny showed a faint smile. In his heart, he didn't think that Lu Dachang would refuse him. At most, he would exchange some ordinary medicinal pills for it. The next auction item was also something that Lin Yi wasn't interested in. Things like the starry sky flowing flame gold were really rare, so he didn't make any moves. Time passed by unconsciously, and the fourth day of the auction also came to an end. It seemed that the soul nourishing would only appear on the last day. With nothing to do, Linny prepared to continue looking for Li Ziyu to ask about the matters of the extreme North Island. After the auction ended tomorrow, he would definitely return to the extreme North Island. However, Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, Hongzhong, and the others might stay for a few more days. It would be troublesome if something happened here and trapped them. When walking out of the box, Linny had not yet gone to look for Lu Dachang when he saw this fellow walking towards him with his son, Lu Xiaozhong. "Ah, isn't this Master Lin? I heard that you're also on the North Island. and I wanted to pay you a visit. It's a pity that I couldn't find you. Today, I finally get to see you." Lu Dachang laughed heartily as he walked over. He had also heard about the friendship between Lin Yi and Zhuang Yifan. Zhuang Yifan was a big shot in the East Continent, completely different from him, a mere guest elder of Morning Star City. Therefore, in his eyes, Lin Yi's value naturally rose. Not to mention that Lin Yi himself was a mystic rank 2 alchemist. In the East Continent's Yellow Steppe Sea, a mystic rank 2 alchemist status was not inferior to Zhuang Yifan's. "Elder Lu, nice to meet you." Lin Yi smiled faintly. Lu Xiaozhong stepped forward and saluted, and he also nodded lightly in response. "Hey, is Master Lin in Box 5? I didn't know about it before. If I had known about it, I would have come here to pay a visit to Master Lin." Lu Dachang pretended to know about Lin Yi's box for the first time, and then nodded to Wei Xinjin and Lenguza beside Lin Yi. Since they could follow Lin Yi, it was necessary for him to build a good relationship with them. Lin Yi was thinking about how to get some starry sky flowing flame gold from Lu Dachang's hands, so he also greeted this old scoundrel with a smile. The few of them talked as they walked out. "By the way, if Master Lin is in Box 5, it seems that he was also interested in this thing, right? If you need it, then I will give it to Master Lin." Lu Dachang took 2 steps forward, and suddenly thought of something. He took out a jade box with restrictions on it, and handed it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi swept it with his spiritual consciousness, and found that the jade box contained the starry sky flowing flame gold, and it was not missing even a little bit. How can I accept something that Elder Lu had painstakingly bid for? Although Lin Yi originally wanted to get some starry sky flowing flame gold from Lu Dachang, but this old scoundrel gave it all away so easily, which made him feel a little puzzled. Lu Dachang's eyes flashed slightly. Although he looked rough on the surface, he had a very meticulous mind. Lin Yi did not open the jade box, yet he knew what was inside. This detail let him understand that although Lin Yi had not yet reached the mountain opening realm, his spiritual consciousness was not inferior to his own by even half a point. In fact, it might even be a little stronger. "Ha ha ha, Master Lin, you're too polite. Just call me Old Lu. It's just a small thing. With our friendship, why would I care about such things? Come on, accept it quickly. Otherwise, this Old Lu will think that you're looking down on me." Lu Dachang did not give any explanation, and stuffed the jade box into Lin Yi's hands with an expression that said, "Don't despise it." Chapter 59-58. The northernmost island was able to stand outside of the 5 Heaven Step Islands and become an independent money-squandering establishment. Li Zaixiang thought that the island lord really couldn't be underestimated. If his internal injuries and old injuries were healed, his strength would be improved. "Boss, let's go, otherwise we won't even get the soup." Lenguza also felt Li Zaixiang's strength, and suddenly became anxious. The strongest 2 in that battle were only at the mountain opening stage. If Li Zaixiang wanted to quell the dispute, it would only take a few breaths. Lenguza didn't want to miss this rare opportunity to fight. Lin Yi nodded and rushed to the scene with Lenguza. Fortunately, the distance was relatively close. In less than a dozen breaths, the 2 arrived at the scene of the battle. What made Lenguza depressed was that Li Zaixiang really solved the battle in an instant. The 5 practitioners were all knocked down to the ground. They didn't even have a chance to fight back. The northernmost island is a fair and just place. Everyone can pay the price here and get everything they want. But everyone needs to abide by the rules of the northernmost island. Li Zaixiang's face was as calm as water. His cold eyes glanced at the audience. When he said the words "kill without mercy," everyone felt a chill in their hearts. For example, this one prohibits anyone from fighting in the commercial area of the northernmost island for any reason. Those who violate it will be imprisoned, fined, or even killed without mercy depending on the seriousness of the circumstances. The 5 powerful cultivators who had fallen to the ground were even more pale. They wanted to say something to beg for mercy, but their strength was sealed by Li Zaixiang, so they couldn't even open their mouths. For a moment, they were nervous, not knowing what kind of punishment they would face. Although imprisonment was shameful, it was much better than losing their lives. But Li Zaixiang obviously felt that their matter was a bit big. Ordinary punishment was not enough to warn others. In view of the relatively wide scope of their fight, the impact caused is very bad. Li Zixiang, in the name of the northernmost island lord, announced that they will be sentenced to death without mercy. Before his voice fell, Li Zixiang flicked his fingers. 5-finger winds shot out and aimed at the eyebrows of the 5 people. Once hit, they would definitely die. Uncle Li, wait! Lin had just arrived at the scene when he saw Li Zixiang announce the punishment in a fit of rage, and then directly make a move to kill. He was immediately shocked and hurriedly opened his mouth to stop him. Li Zixiang's fingers moved, and the 5-finger winds were slightly deflected, avoiding the 5 people on the ground. Instead, they pierced through their shoulders. Nephew Lin, do you know them? Li Zixiang's expression was calm as he looked at Lin Yi. No one knew what he was thinking. However, just a moment ago, Li Zixiang had already announced that these 5 people would be killed without mercy. Even if Lin Yi pleaded for leniency, he might not be able to change his verdict. After all, the rules of the extreme North Island could not be broken. However, he had no choice but to give Lin Yi face for the time being. Uncle Li, I don't know them, but this is too much of a coincidence. I think we should interrogate them and see if we can find any clues. Who knows, we might get some unexpected rewards. Lin Yi used telepathy to communicate with Li Zixiang so that the news wouldn't leak out. Li Zixiang suddenly understood. He was too angry just now and did not consider this layer. It seemed that he had been in closed-door training for too long, and his brain was a little rusty. Fortunately, he had announced the charges before executing these people. Otherwise, during the battle, he would not have confined their cultivation, but directly killed them with a slap. However, it seemed that it was not appropriate to change what he said just now. Li Zixiang was secretly annoyed. At this age, his killing intent was still too heavy. No wonder he would be possessed by the devil during cultivation. It seemed that after going back, he needed to properly cultivate his mind for a period of time before he could continue to cultivate. Just when he was in a dilemma, Li Ziyu hurried over with a group of northern garrison guards. Old man, you are finally willing to come out? As a young master, I have to work hard for the auction every day, but you are always doing God knows what. Have you ever considered my feelings? Li Ziyu was secretly surprised when he saw that his father had finally come out to take care of things. However, his mouth still muttered some words that did not match his heart. Brat, you know that I am not feeling well, yet you still make me worry so much. Since you are here, I will leave these troublemakers to you. I will go back and have a good rest. Let's go. Li Zixiang laughed and scolded. He just happened to throw this difficult matter to his son. At the same time, he vaguely gave Li Ziyu a look. After Li Zixiang finished speaking, he said goodbye to Lin Yi and Languza, then turned around and left in a hurry. Although Li Zixiang and Li Ziyu, this strange father and son pair, did not behave properly when they were together. In fact, the two of them absolutely understood each other. With just a look, Li Ziyu had already understood each other. Damn old man, you only know how to be lazy. This young master has been ordered around by you for so many years at such a young age. Li Ziyu nagged at Li Zixiang's back discontentedly. Then he pointed to the northern garrison guards beside him and said, You guys go and put these guys in prison first. The old man said that they should be killed without mercy, but this young master will put them in prison for 8 to 10 years. Lin Yi was secretly amused. The father and son really had a tacit understanding. They had resolved the previous embarrassing situation while laughing and scolding. If he had not transmitted his voice to Li Zixiang and Li Ziyu, he would also think that it was a melodramatic play of a rebellious son going against his father. Canceling the island master's order in such a manner, not only would no one say anything, most people would even smile knowingly. After all, everyone had grown up in their youth, and many of them were already parents, so they had a deep understanding of this situation. Brother Lin, what happened just now? After Li Ziyu ordered the northern garrison guards to disperse the crowd, he walked to Lin Yi and asked in a low voice. He came late, so he only heard Lin Yi hinting at him not to kill people. He did not know the details, but the old man's eyes seemed to also want him to ask Lin Yi. Let's go and ask those 5 guys first. I don't know the details now. Lin Yi also said in a low voice. and pulled Li Ziyu to the direction of the prison. Lang Guzi looked dissatisfied, and he bitterly followed behind. He finally had a chance to fight, but he could not make it because he was too slow. It was the same with the shape-shifting spirit beast last time. It seemed that he had to find a way to increase his speed by 6%. In a distant attic, Zheng Tianqing and Yu Ziqing regretfully shook their heads. They seemed to be very dissatisfied with Li Zixiang's sudden appearance. What a pity. It was supposed to be a big mess. I didn't expect Li Zixiang to appear so quickly. Speaking of which, the island owner of the extreme North Island is really powerful. 2 mountain opening stage masters were fighting, but he directly intervened and knocked them down with one move. This strength is too strong. Yu Ziqing sighed softly, and he became less and less confident in his plan. Chapter 59-59. With such a powerful master around, even Uncle O would not be able to stop Li Zixiang, let alone Aunt Lan. Don't worry, creating chaos is not the goal. The goal is to let the Li family in the extreme north investigate the cause of the chaos, so that they can be distracted. Zheng Tianqing was quite proud of himself. The battle between the 5 cultivators was caused by his poisoning, and the plan this time was also formulated by him. The only regret was that the poison was provided to him by the organization. If he could concoct it himself, it would be very awesome. It was a poison that could even kill a cultivator at the opening mountain stage. If there were enough of it, Zheng Tianqing believed that he could definitely unify Middle Island and sweep across the East Continent. Unfortunately, his superior said that the ingredients for the poison were precious and difficult to make, so there were not many in stock. He could only use 6 portions, and they were all given to Zheng Tianqing this time. Zheng Tianqing had just used 1 portion, and the effect was really good. He could not wait to find the next target. He was even considering if he could give one to Lin Yi. That would be such a beautiful scene. However, when he thought that Lin Yi's detoxification method seemed to be better than his own, he immediately gave up the idea. Child Zheng, you have to stir up the chaos as soon as possible. Otherwise, our plan won't work. Aunt Lan was a little anxious. It was getting dark, and tomorrow's dawn was getting closer and closer. If they could not divert the attention of the Li family in the extreme north to these things, the possibility of their failure was basically 100%. The consequences were too serious for Yu Ziqing to bear. Don't worry, in the next hour, Li Ziyu and the North Garrison will keep stopping the fights, and then they will start to investigate the cause. Take this opportunity to finish what you need to do. When I'm done, I can go and help you. Zheng Tianqing was very enthusiastic. The more he did not know, the more he wanted to know. If he was not the only one who could do the poisoning, he would definitely follow Yu Ziqing closely. Yu Ziqing also wanted to cry, but had no tears. He wanted to King throw this matter to Zheng Tianqing, but time waits for no man. If he couldn't take advantage of the opportunity that Zheng Tianqing created, when Li Ziyu came back to his senses, it would be completely over. Tianqing, you are indeed loyal, but you won't be able to make it in time. As long as you can attract the attention of the Li family and the Northern Sentinel, it will be a great achievement. Yu Ziqing sighed and patted Zheng Tianqing's shoulder with regret. Zheng Tianqing also felt that it was a pity. They were already so close to the truth, but they had no choice but to distance themselves again. Young master, we don't have much time left. We have to prepare for the operation. Please leave the rest to young master Zheng. Aunt Lan nodded politely to Zheng Tianqing, then pulled Yu Ziqing away. Zheng Tianqing was quite satisfied with Aunt Lan's attitude. In the past, this woman had never given him any face. After all, whether it was his strength or status, Zheng Tianqing was not worth mentioning in Aunt Lan's eyes. Now, Aunt Lan was begging Zheng Tianqing, which greatly satisfied his vanity. If it wasn't for the organization's mission, he might have hesitated a few more times before agreeing to help. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Zheng Tianqing laughed and casually cupped his hands to bid farewell to Ziqing and Aunt Lan. Yu Ziqing's face darkened. You can go now. You don't even know how to say something auspicious. I don't know what the King organization sees in this idiot follower. Is it because this idiot is innocent enough? In fact, Yu Ziqing also knew that although Zheng Tianqing's strength was not as good as his, and there was a huge gap between him and the real geniuses in the East Continent, Zheng Tianqing was really good at poisoning. Even if it was an unorthodox method, it could play a huge role when used in the right place. Maybe that was what the organization saw in him. After Ziqing and Antlan left, the deep male voice came from the communicator in Zheng Tianqing's ear again. Zheng Tianqing, you have to do it well. Our organization has handed over all the drugs to you. If you can't do it well, the organization will reevaluate your ability. Remember, this is your only chance. If you don't succeed, find another way. Got it. Zheng Tianqing curled his lips impatiently. I just felt a little better, but it was ruined by you again. What a bummer. Hurry up. After a while, all the people in the auction house will leave. Who are you going to target? The deep male voice could not help but raise his voice. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Zheng Tianqing's delay. From this detail, it could be seen that this person was definitely watching nearby. Otherwise, how could he know Zheng Tianqing's movements so well? Zheng Tianqing was shocked. He quickly agreed, jumped out of the building, and quickly ran to the crowded place. Lin Yi and Li Ziyu brought the 5 captured practitioners to the dungeon. They first detained one of them in the early stage of the mountain opening stage, and interrogated him alone. Tell me, why did you want to fight in the extreme North Island? Don't you know the rules here? Li Ziyu personally went up and stared at this guy with cold eyes. Needless to say, that expression was exactly the same as when Li Zixiang announced the death penalty. He really was his biological son. This mountain opening stage powerhouse could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Although Li Ziyu's cultivation was similar to that of an ant in his eyes, now that his strength was restricted, any ordinary person could crush him like an ant. I didn't want to fight with anyone. I was completely forced to protect myself. Actually, if you ask the people nearby, you should know that I was really the passive defensive party. You people from the extreme North Island can't be unreasonable, right? This guy had a shadow in his heart about Li Zixiang. However, Li Ziyu's demeanor and appearance were extremely similar to Li Zixiang. If one had to describe it, it would be that Li Zixiang suddenly looked a lot younger. Therefore, this mountain opening stage powerhouse was completely suppressed by Li Ziyu when he opened his mouth. Because of this, what he said was somewhat credible. Lin Yi frowned slightly. If this guy was really passive defensive, then the problem could only be with the other mountain opening stage powerhouse. Brotherly, go and interrogate the other mountain opening stage powerhouse first. The other 3 mysterious ascension late stage peak are probably just following the 2 leaders. We won't be able to get anything out of them. Lin Yi used sound transmission to give his suggestion. Chapter 5960. Lin Yi was also on the side. He also wanted to know the truth as soon as possible. This matter itself was strange. However, before the 2 of them walked to another interrogation room, a northern guard rushed in. He came to the 2 of them and said, "Young Island Master, there are cultivators fighting in the commercial area again. This time, the Island Master has told us in advance that he will not come out unless it is an emergency. So you need to personally command this battle." There are cultivators fighting again? Li Ziyu felt a headache. He had not figured out the situation here. And there was another one? The damn old man deliberately did not show up. Who was the Island Master of the extreme North Island? Lin Yi released his divine sense and found that there were 2 groups of people fighting in the commercial area. This time, there were more people, nearly 10. Although there were no mountain opening stage giants, they were basically masters of the mysterious ascending stage. Perhaps this was the reason why Li Zixiang did not make a move. A group of mysterious ascending stage guys were making trouble, and he, the Island Master of the Earth opening stage, had to make a move. The extreme North Island was indeed too weak. "Boss, let's go and deal with these small fries." Languza popped out from an unknown corner. He rolled up his sleeves and had an excited expression on his face. He was ready to fight at any moment. "Brotherly, leave the outside matters to me and Languza. You need to figure out the reason why these people are fighting as soon as possible. Since it is not an accident, the reason behind it is even more worth thinking about." Lin Yi did not talk nonsense. and directly told Li Ziyu their respective tasks. Languza was overjoyed. Finally, he had the opportunity to make a move. Now he was afraid that Li Ziyu would not agree, so he looked at Li Ziyu eagerly. Li Ziyu had no objection. Of course, he could rest assured with Lin Yi's help. Moreover, it was very important to figure out the reason why these guys were fighting. Brother Lin, then I'll leave it to you. Li Ziyu nodded decisively. At the same time, he ordered the Northern Guard. Go and take some people with Master Lin. Be sure to listen to his command. At the same time, mobilize a Northern Guard to strengthen the patrols to avoid similar situations. Yes, young master. The Northern Guard saluted and immediately went out to give the order. Lin Yi and Languza could not wait for the Northern Garrison Guards to arrive. They rushed to the scene first. At this moment, there were 9 cultivators present, and they were basically evenly matched. It was 4 against 5, and the side with fewer people was stronger. It was a well-matched situation. It was precisely because of this that the damage caused was maximized. If one side had an overwhelming advantage, the battle might have ended long before anyone arrived. Languza let out a strange cry. He didn't wait for Lin Yi's order, and directly rushed into the battle. He didn't care which side they were on. He just wanted to beat up whoever was next to him. Lin Yi did not make a move. Instead, he fully activated his divine sense, and carefully observed the people on the battlefield to see if there was anything unusual. At the same time, he searched for any suspicious people among the onlookers. Languza's ability was completely invincible among those of the same level. Even if it was a giant in the mountain opening period, he could still wrestle with him. Hence, when he charged into the chaotic battle, he did not feel any pressure at all. He easily took down one of them. No matter which one was knocked down, it meant that the balance was broken. One side took the opportunity to retreat and wanted to leave the battle, but the other side did not give up and continued to attack. However, to Lin Yi's surprise, the side that did not give up was actually the group that Languza had knocked down. Languza, take them down. Don't waste time. Lin Yi saw something strange, and directly told Languza to finish the battle quickly. Languza agreed. It was rare to have a chance to fight. He originally wanted to play for a while, but since the boss had spoken, he could only find a chance to play next time. Violent vital energy exploded in an instant. Languza was practically a human bulldozer. Wherever he went, resistance would be completely flattened. Within the span of a few breaths, these people were all lying on the ground, moaning and groaning. Boss, I did well, right? I didn't kill a single one. Languza suddenly appeared beside Lin Yi. He clapped his hands and smiled, asking for credit. Did you fight to your heart's content? Lin Yi looked at Languza with a smile that was not a smile. This guy fought for leisure and entertainment. What was there to ask for credit? I didn't enjoy it. Next time, boss, you have to let me do it. Languza smiled embarrassedly, and immediately booked the next opportunity to fight. What a jinx. Do you want a next time? Lin Yi was also speechless. Li Ziyu was already in a terrible mess, and Languza still wanted a next time. Could he think of something better? The soldiers of the Northern Guard rushed over, but they could only clean up the mess because the matter was already settled. Just like when Lin Yi and Languza rushed over, Li Zixiang had already finished his work. Languza was very satisfied with this. He finally experienced the treatment of a master like Li Zixiang. You guys take these troublemakers to the prison and let young Master Li interrogate them, especially those few. Lin Yi pointed at the few guys who were still pestering the Northern Guard. He also wanted to ask about the situation of Li Ziyu's interrogation. However, after 2 consecutive incidents, Lin Yi felt that this matter would not end so easily. Maybe something new would happen. Therefore, he wanted to continue patrolling with Languza to nip it in the bud. Before that, Lin Yi wanted to ask the bystanders how the fight had happened. Perhaps he'd be able to get some useful clues from the witnesses. Friend, may I ask if you've been here from the beginning? Why are these people fighting? Lin Yi picked a cultivator who was closest to the fight, walked over and asked politely. The cultivator who was asked by Lin Yi was also a mysterious ascension stage cultivator. His strength was around the peak of the late stage. He probably had just broken through not long ago, and was not very stable. Seeing Languza's power just now, he didn't dare to be slow in the face of Lin Yi's question. He hurriedly cupped his fists and replied, "That's right, I've been watching it from the very beginning until now. Come to think of it, it's quite strange. Those two groups of people were originally going their own ways, and didn't seem to know each other at all. But the leader of the smaller group suddenly launched an attack on the other group." Lin Yi frowned slightly. Suddenly launched an attack? Could it be a premeditated surprise attack? But what the spectator said next immediately overturned this idea. Chapter 5961. Why did that person suddenly attack the other party? Did anything strange happen before that? Lin Yi really couldn't figure it out, so he could only continue to ask. Unfortunately, after this cultivator carefully recalled, he shook his head slightly apologetically, indicating that this was all he knew. "Thank you." Lin Yi couldn't help it. He could only clasp his fist and thank him. Then he turned around and asked the other two onlookers. The answers he got were almost the same. It was basically consistent with what the first person said. And no one knew why the leader suddenly went crazy. "Boss, do you think that guy will suddenly go crazy, and then he will bite anyone he sees? Just like the rabies in your secular world?" Languza was rarely imaginative, and he was very active in providing an idea. There is also this possibility. If you can find a mad dog or something on the island in the far north, it is probably like this. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said perfunctorily. While he was talking, his divine sense suddenly discovered that in another place 3 streets away from here, there were another 6 mysterious ascending stage cultivators suddenly fighting, and they attacked without any warning. The party that was attacked was not prepared at all, and one of them was directly injured. Compared to the second wave of people who were fighting, they were obviously much more unlucky. "Boss, someone is fighting again." Languza also noticed the fluctuations of the battle, and he immediately shouted excitedly. His expression of wanting to see the world in chaos made Lin Yi feel very embarrassed. But he didn't have time to talk to him. Lin Yi fully exerted the extreme butterfly microsteps, and his whole person turned into an afterimage and flew out, and he jumped directly from the roof. Languza suddenly admired him. Boss is the boss. He can even think of such a shortcut. It is really much faster. So he quickly followed up, and almost collapsed the house. After a few ups and downs, the two had already arrived at the scene. Languza shouted, "Boss, I'm coming," and rushed into the battle again. Naturally, Lin Yi would not snatch the opportunity to fight. What he did was to use his divine sense to repeatedly check everyone nearby to see if there was anyone similar or overlapping with the previous one. Perhaps this was the key to solving the mystery. Unfortunately, no matter how Lin Yi checked, he couldn't find anything similar. This made him wonder if it was really a coincidence. Languza was having a lot of fun. He beat them up, but he didn't use too much force, so that the cultivators could continue to attack. In the end, it became a situation where he was fighting against 5 people alone. The one who was ambushed earlier wanted to retreat, but he couldn't. "Languza, have you had enough?" Lin Yi was also speechless. Was this guy here to help or cause trouble? Now he had to end the battle as soon as possible. He was still having fun. "Boss, it's almost done." Languza answered and quickly increased the frequency of his attacks. If the boss got angry and forbade him to beat people up, it would be a big problem. Once Languza got serious, these mysterious ascending stage cultivators were no match for him at all. They were knocked down in an instant. The patrolling northern guards also arrived at the scene. According to Lin Yi's instructions, they took them to the prison and handed them over to Li Ziyu. "Unfair, this is too unfair. We were the ones who were ambushed. How can we be arrested like these bastards? Where is the fairness of the extreme North Island? Can't we fight back when we were ambushed? Can't we just wait for death?" The guy who was ambushed first did not participate in the subsequent battle, so Languza did not imprison his cultivation, and the northern guards did not take him away. That was why he protested immediately. Lin Yi was stunned. This guy's words made sense. If someone dared to ambush him, he would probably kill them first regardless of where he was. Lin Yi was not the only one who heard this. The onlookers not far away also began to talk about it. That's right. If that's the case, Who would dare to come to the extreme North Island? If we are ambushed, we will die if we don't fight back. Are we here to die? That's not a big deal. Aren't you worried that you will be killed inexplicably on the road? Why do I feel that a lot of people here are showing signs of going crazy? I heard that the same thing happened just now. We were attacked inexplicably while walking. What should we do? It seems dangerous to stay, but tomorrow is the last day of the auction. It will be a waste if we don't participate. Don't go out before the auction starts. Leave as soon as it ends tomorrow. Don't come back again. This place is a bit strange. There were all kinds of discussions. An emotion called panic was quietly spreading. Lenny suddenly felt that something was wrong. If this continued, the extreme North Island would fall into chaos. At that time, the sea beasts would take the opportunity to attack. It would be a problem both inside and outside. Thinking of this, Lenny suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Was this deliberately created by the sea beasts? To make the extreme North Island fall into chaos? If that's the case, wouldn't the sea beasts' attack start soon? Languza, come here. Lenny yelled as he took out a recording pen. He put it to his mouth and quickly said a few words before passing it to Languza, who was running over. Boss, what is this for? Languza took the recording pen and wanted to listen to the content. Lenny stared at him. It's not for you. You go to the ancient warship immediately and pass the recording pen to Captain Okuda. After that, don't come back. Just stay on the ancient warship and help me keep an eye on the movements in the sea. In the sea. Boss, are you saying that those guys are coming again? Languza was not willing to run errands and missed the opportunity to fight. However, he was excited when he heard that something might happen in the sea. Compared to fighting with the people on the extreme North Island, Languza preferred to fight the sea beasts in the sea. It was his home ground, and it was easier for him to use his strength. I hope I'm wrong. Go now. Lenny waved his hand. After sending Languza away, he found another northern town guard. Go and find young Master Lee, and tell him to speed up. Also, the investigation that I mentioned before needs to be done as soon as possible. Ask him to send someone to inform me if there's any news. Lenny was vague, but he believed that Li Ziyu would understand. If it was possible, Lenny would definitely go and ask about the situation in person. However, it was not the right time. According to the current situation, the next wave of fighting would probably start soon. Chapter 5962. What Lenny was most worried about was whether someone would take the opportunity to sneak up on his enemy and come up with some inexplicable reason. Anyway, this had happened a few times before, so he could say anything. Lenny had to find out the reason before the situation got out of hand. He had to put an end to the possibility of someone taking advantage of the situation. Fortunately, the North Garrison that Li Ziyu had set up was already in place. There were people patrolling all the busy areas, so it was of some use. Normally, no one would dare to provoke the North Garrison for no reason. As soon as this thought flashed through Lin Yi's mind, his divine sense suddenly discovered that someone really did sneak up on a team of patrolling North Garrison. This was going to turn the world upside down. Because of the 2 consecutive fights, Lin Yi's divine sense had completely covered the entire bustling area of the far North Island, constantly searching for suspicious people, things. However, no one was obviously abnormal. Before he went crazy, he really couldn't tell anything. Even the person who dared to sneak up on the North Garrison, Lenny didn't notice anything wrong before. It was only when the person suddenly went crazy that Lenny discovered it. This was a master in the early stage of the mountain opening stage. Facing the 5-man team of the North Garrison, he easily killed one guard and moved on to the next one. Lenny didn't care about hiding his trump card. One after another, lightning arcs flashed continuously. In a flash, he had arrived at the scene of the battle. The dragon-shaped murderous aura of the 5 elements rushed forward and completely shattered the attack of the master in the mountain opening stage. The guy's attention immediately shifted to Lin Yi. He gave up on chasing the North Garrison and rushed directly to Lin Yi. His attacks became even more fierce. Lin Yi secretly frowned. This guy in the mountain opening stage looked extremely ferocious, and there was an inexplicable madness in his eyes. It was as if Lin Yi had killed his father, and he would absolutely not stop until Lin Yi was dead. This situation was obviously abnormal. Lin Yi was almost sure that this guy must have been tampered with. However, he did not know how he did it. There was no one around him, except for the patrolling North Guard. There was no one within 500 meters of him. After a few consecutive fights, the originally lively commercial area had quietened down. Moreover, it was extremely quiet because of the previous commotion. Otherwise, the guy in the mountain opening period might not have been able to attack the North Town Guards. The dragon-shaped 5 elements killing chi whistled in the air, instantly pouncing towards the mountain opening stage expert from the side. This guy who had fallen into madness did not lose his battle instincts at all. His body twisted strangely, and he actually dodged this attack. Moreover, he continued to pounce towards Lin Yi without losing any momentum. Lin Yi stood there without moving. 3 pill-fire divine sense whirlpools were instantly activated, completely surrounding the mountain opening stage expert in a triangular formation. In fact, using the soul hook was the most suitable way to end the battle silently. However, Lin Yi still needed this guy to be sober enough to answer his questions, so he had to give up on the soul hook. The mountain opening stage expert, who crashed into the pill-fire divine sense whirlpool, immediately let out a shrill scream. His primordial spirit felt like it was being torn apart and burned. This kind of pain was not something that anyone could bear. The dragon-shaped 5 elements killing chi whistled and chased after this guy. Taking advantage of the fact that his primordial spirit was injured, it fiercely hit his back, forcibly turning his scream into a mouthful of blood. Then he softly fell to the ground. This was even when Lin Yi was merciful. Otherwise, it would be easy to kill him directly. The divine sense whirlpool and the 5 elements killing chi attacked from both inside and outside. Under the mountain opening stage, it was almost impossible to resist this kind of damage without a divine sense defense tool. Capture him and send him to prison to Young Island only, Lin Yi calmly ordered. The remaining 4 northern town guards quickly followed his order, their eyes full of respect. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was used to this. Ever since the last time he fought Uncle Li and Uncle O, he had a clear understanding that as long as he didn't get ganged up on by a mountain opening practitioner, he wouldn't be afraid of any mountain opening practitioner in a one-on-one situation. Even if he couldn't beat a peak opening practitioner, he wouldn't be killed by them. This was the 4th ambush, and the bad effects had spread far and wide. Other than the North Guard, Lin Yi's consciousness couldn't see any tourists wandering around outside. They were all rushing back to their residences, afraid that they would be ambushed out of nowhere, or that they would go crazy for no reason and become the perpetrators of the ambushes. This is good. At least no one will be targeted anymore. Lin Yi sighed softly. It was not easy to eliminate this kind of panic, but he did not need to worry about it. Li Zixiang and Li Ziyu would naturally have a way to deal with it. Pass down the order immediately. Keep a visual distance between the northern town guards, and pay attention to any suspicious people approaching. If a member of the northern town guards is attacked, you must know who passed by and where he went. Do you understand? Lin Yi called a northern town guard over and gave the order in a low voice. Since Li Ziyu had given him enough authority, he would not pass on the responsibility. If the mastermind still wanted to make the soldiers of the northern town guards go crazy, then they would be caught by the tail and pulled out. Lin Yi estimated that this guy could not make people go crazy on a large scale. Whether it was the time of the skill, the chi limit, the number of times, and the quantity limit of the items and medicines, there must be some drawbacks. Otherwise, the entire northern island would have been turned upside down. This kind of attack from time to time was mainly to cause panic, so that the northern town guards would be exhausted. At the same time, all the guests on the northern island would feel fear and quickly flee the northern island. Yes, Master Lin, your subordinate will pass down your order immediately. This northern town guard was extremely respectful to Lin Yi. He even called himself his subordinate. It seemed that Lin Yi's performance had established his prestige in the northern town guards. However, before Lin Yi's order was passed down, there was a new battle. This time, it was not in the commercial area, but in the residential area of the inn. Lin Yi's expression suddenly changed. All the residential areas would basically have a barrier to block divine sense. No matter how shallow it was, it could prevent other people's divine sense from prying. It was not difficult to force one's divine sense in, and Lenny could do it easily. However, it was impossible to hide it from the people inside, because it was not spying, but a blatant invasion. Even Li Zaixiang, the owner of the island, did not have the right to do so. Chapter 5963. Damn it! Will I still be controlled after returning to the station? Lenny cursed and instantly disappeared. From this, it could be inferred that this kind of attack was not instantaneous. There would be a lag time, so it would be more difficult to find the culprit. Because Lenny did not know how long the lag time was. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even half an hour. 1 or 2 days. If he could not determine the time, how could he find the culprit behind the scenes? Lin Yi's speed was already extremely fast, but when he arrived, the outcome of the battle between the two was already clear. After all, there was a relatively large gap in strength between the two. Otherwise, the other 8 people would not have been killed. The guy who killed all his own people was covered in the blood of his companions. He was like a fierce god struggling out of hell, roaring ferociously. When Lin Yi appeared, he did not say a word and launched a new round of attacks. A wisp of saber chi appeared in front of Lin Yi. The direction of the attack was erratic. It clearly felt like it was aimed at the chest, but in the next moment, it could appear at the throat. This guy really had a skill. Even in a state of madness, his control of martial arts was still excellent. Lin Yi's phantom let the saber chi pass through his body, but his real body appeared behind the guy like a ghost and slapped the back of the guy's head. Unexpectedly, the guy reacted very quickly. His body made a 90-degree turn, and the saber chi reversed. The saber chi slashed into Lin Yi's body like a waterfall. Unfortunately, it was still just a phantom. The essence of the Cloud Dragon's 3 appearances was that it could switch between the real body and the phantom at any time. So no matter how fast the guy's reaction was, he could not keep up with the speed of Lin Yi's attack. When the attack appeared behind him again, the guy had no way to deal with it. He could only collapse to the ground and fall into a coma. Poor guy. When you wake up and know that you killed all your companions, I wonder if you will feel that it is better to die than to live. Lin Yi sighed softly and looked at the guy on the ground with some pity. Perhaps it would be better for him to kill him now? The nearby northern guard quickly arrived and took control of the guy, who was both a murderer and a survivor. According to Lin Yi's order, he was sent to Li Ziyu. As for what would happen to him after he woke up, Lin Yi could not care less. Master Lin, this is the message from young master. A northern guard rushed over and handed Lin Yi a scroll sealed with the restriction formation. Thank you. Lin Yi nodded and took it. He quickly opened it, but there were no words on it. Instead, a phantom of Li Ziyu appeared and spoke to him directly. He did not know what kind of technology it was, but it was a bit similar to the 3D video recording in the secular world. Brother Lin, after the interrogation, the mountain opening stage cultivator in the first batch did not lie. It was another guy who suddenly attacked. Because the old man sealed their cultivation, the guy who attacked regained his consciousness. According to him, when he was walking, he discovered his lifelong enemy. Then, the killing intent in his heart could not be suppressed, and he immediately launched a surprise attack involuntarily. In fact, his opponent was a stranger that he had never met. It had nothing to do with his lifelong enemy. It was all his own illusion. And this is not a special case. In the second batch of people you sent here, the leader of the surprise attack was in the same situation. There was almost no difference. We haven't had time to interrogate the rest of the people, but we can confirm that this is the reason. According to my speculation, they must have been poisoned by an extremely powerful hallucinogenic drug. The problem is that they don't know when they were poisoned. Fortunately, this hallucinogenic drug is not contagious. Otherwise, the entire northernmost island would have completely fallen. Now I'm only worried that the culprit still has a lot of hallucinogenic drugs, and then the northernmost island will be in chaos. Brother Lin, please help me pay more attention in this aspect. In addition, I've also sent a city guard to patrol the commercial area. We must ensure that there are enough people to control the situation. I'll leave their command to Brother Lin. At this time, the extreme North Island must not have any panic disorder. If there is a trend, I ask Brother Lin to suppress it. I'll bear all the consequences. The shadow of Li Ziyu, who was only the size of a palm, had a very dignified expression. It was estimated that he was under a lot of pressure to say such words. Usually, Li Ziyu did not have the intention to kill, but now he even gave the authority to suppress it to Lin Yi. It could be seen how serious the situation of the northernmost island was in his heart. In the end, Li Ziyu did not say what he was going to do. However, Lin Yi could roughly guess that the culprit behind the scenes was definitely not the main target of the panic and chaos in the northernmost island, unless he had a lot of hallucinogenic drugs that could make people fall into hallucinations on a large scale. Unfortunately, Lin Yi speculated that the possibility was very low. Otherwise, it would not have happened only 5 times. Li Ziyu also had this suspicion, so he arranged to defend some more important places. However, there seemed to be a total of 7 guard stations in the northernmost island. The guard station in the north was imprisoned and isolated because of the incident with the spirit beast and the tunnel. The guard station in the north was also sent to guard it. The commercial area was originally guarded by a guard station in shifts. Now that 2 more guard stations were transferred here, it meant that there were only 2 guard stations left to defend the other places. This was a bit too dangerous. Luring the tiger away from the mountain? Making a feint in the east and striking in the west? Lin Yi murmured. Then he trembled, and immediately issued an order to the northern guard next to him. Immediately send the 2 transferred guard stations back to their original positions. We don't need so many people here. The northern guard bowed and cupped his fists. Yes, Master Lin. However, it is not all of the 2 guard stations that were transferred here. To be exact, it is 2/3 of the guard stations. They each left 1/3 of their men to guard their original positions, so there will be no problem. Go and pass the order. Send all the people that were transferred here back. Don't make me repeat myself. Lin Yi did not have time to explain at all. After he raised his voice, he directly rushed out of the courtyard. The North Guard didn't dare to say anything else. He was just trying to explain. He wasn't trying to disobey Li Ziyu's order. Li Ziyu's order aside, the prestige that Lin Yi had built up in such a short period of time was enough for him to obey. Chapter 5964. It was also because of Qibing's words that Zhao Guangxi left Songshan and came to Donghai to do business. Of course, since he continued to give Zhao Guangyin a large sum of money every month to the hidden Zhao family, he quickly gained a foothold in East Ocean City. However, he was no longer able to go to a higher level. House Zhao had chosen a new business representative, the chairman of Donghai Chamber of Commerce, Lei Daming. Just now, it was Lei Daming's order to chase them away. Naturally, he couldn't disobey Lei Daming's request, since they were on the same side. It seemed that he had kicked an iron plank. He had to make it clear to Lei Daming that the hidden house Han had to be suppressed by the hidden house Zhao. But he, Zhao Guangxi, wasn't able to do so. Elder Bai didn't have the ability to get the hidden house Zhao to help, but Lei Daming could. I understand. Don't do anything rashly, just serve them the dishes. Don't show yourself. I'll arrange for someone else to go. Guangxi said. Yes, Mr. Zhao. The manager quickly replied. After putting down the phone, Guangxi couldn't wait to call Lei Daming. Mr. Zhao, is it done? Lei Daming was eating at the Northern Ice Seafood Restaurant, and naturally thought that it was done after receiving Guangxi's call. As far as he was concerned, this wasn't a big deal at all. Guangxi was the boss here, and if he didn't want to do business with a table full of customers, then so be it. What else could Pingzhan do? Done what, Mr. Lei? You've screwed me over, they have a back or two. Since Zhao Guangxi was related to Zhao Guangyin, he wouldn't be too humble in front of Lei Daming. He cried and complained. They invited someone from the hidden Han family. His name is Han Xiaopa, and I couldn't suppress him anymore. Not only did Han Xiaopa threaten me to get out of East Ocean City, but he also wanted me to take away all my businesses. Mr. Lei, you can't just ignore this. Hidden House Han? How are they related to Pengzhan? Lei Daming said. Elder Bai frowned, confused. All right, you don't have to worry about it. I'll report this to the boss. The boss Lei Daming was talking about was naturally Guanyin of the Hidden House Zhao. Lei Daming was his representative. And the reason why he didn't want Pengzhan to enter Donghai was because Pengzhan's business overlapped too much with Lei Daming's. Hotels, shopping malls, real estate, all of them were profitable projects. If Pengzhan were to come, he'd have to take responsibility for Guanyin's actions. Lei Daming's business would be affected, and if Guanyin were to blame him, he'd have to take responsibility. So, Lei Daming didn't feel that he was in the wrong. He called Zhao Guanyin directly. Boss, there's trouble. What kind of trouble? Zhao Guanyin's attitude towards Lei Daming was quite good. After Lei Daming was promoted, he quickly made a name for himself in East Ocean City. He brought in a lot of profits for the Zhao family every month, and there was a lot of sustainable profits. Therefore, Zhao Guanyin had high hopes for him. I told you before, I've teamed up with the local merchants in Donghai, trying to force an outsider out of business. After all, his business overlaps with ours. Lei Daming explained the situation, proving that he wasn't trying to make a personal grudge with the Hidden House Han. Yes, I know. Does this outsider have a background? Guanyin quickly connected the dots. That's right, the Hidden House Han is here to support them. Lei Daming nodded. His name is Han Xiaopa. What? Hidden House Han's Han Xiaopa is the outsider's backer? Guanyin paused. Didn't the Hidden House Han not do business? Could it be that after the Hidden House Summit, the Hidden House Han had bared their fangs and were ready to start a business? That's right. Here's what happened today. Lei Daming didn't hide anything and directly told Zhao Guangxi about how he met the outsider at the Arctic Ocean seafood restaurant and how he made Zhao Guangxi embarrass him. Well, you did the right thing. Guanyin nodded. Lei Daming was arrogant, but he was doing it for the sake of the Hidden House Zhao's business. So Guanyin had to stand up for him. Moreover, even if this didn't happen, the Hidden Zhao family couldn't take it lying down. After the Hidden Family Summit, the Hidden Han family was no longer as cautious and low-key as before. Instead, they began to move around in the East Ocean City and made their voices heard. It seemed like they wanted to compete with the Hidden Zhao family. At the Hidden House Summit, the Hidden House Han used their relationship with Lin Yi to make the Hidden House Zhao feel bad. After Lin Yi left, the Hidden House Han was still jumping around and even supporting an outsider. Guanyin couldn't tolerate this. If he gave in this time, he believed that the Hidden House Han would take advantage of him and make it worse. Therefore, he had to kill their ambition as soon as they showed their fangs. Boss, what should we do now? Lei Daming asked carefully. Isn't it just Han Xiaopa? Guanyin smiled coldly. He really thinks he's someone important. Don't worry. I'll let Qibing and Elder Bai come out and teach this arrogant bastard a lesson. Does he really think that the Hidden House Han can compete with the Hidden House Zhao? He's overestimating himself. That's great. Lei Daming was overjoyed. He didn't think that Guanyin would send Zhao Qibing, the heir of the Hidden House Zhao, and Elder Bai, the core member of the Hidden House Zhao. Just you wait, they'll be here soon. Guanyin couldn't make Elder Bai move, but he could make Qibing move. If Qibing went, Elder Bai, as his master, had to go as well. After all, Han Xiaopa was an Earth-class early phase. If Han Xiaopa made a move, then Qibing would be at a disadvantage. But if Elder Bai went, the situation would be different. Elder Bai wouldn't just sit and watch, and Han Xiaopa wouldn't dare make a move. Yes, thank you, boss. Lei Daming said quickly. In Lin Yi's room, Han Xiaopa closed the door unhappily and walked to Lin Yi with a smile. Boss, what's going on? Chapter 5965. But things were different now. Sun Jingyi had become their daughter, and it would be hard for Faubert to fight with Ming Yao for a man. On one side was his biological daughter, and on the other side was the miss who wasn't even his biological daughter, but was more like one. Plus, Pengzhan was the one who took him in. Faubert was in a dilemma, but it seemed like Pengzhan wasn't against it, and since Ming Yao could accept Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao, she might be able to accept Sun Jingyi. Faubert let out a breath of relief. The family was talking happily when the door of the private room was pushed open. They thought it was the waiter who came to serve the dishes. But the person who came in was not a waiter, but a person who looked like a lobby manager. "I'm sorry, everyone. Our chairman just called, saying that you're from the Arctic Ocean. You've entered the wrong door. Unwelcome guests of the Fresh Restaurant, please leave." As soon as the lobby manager came in, he didn't wait for anyone to ask, and said this in a flat tone. Pengzhan didn't think that Lei Daming would actually do something like this. Pressuring the chairman of the restaurant to send someone to ask Pengzhan to leave was a very humiliating action. But it was also extremely sinister. Even business competitors wouldn't do something like this. Not only would it make people think that Lei Daming was being sinister, but it also meant that there was no room for negotiation between Pengzhan and Lei Daming. What kind of restaurant is this? Which rule says that you can ask a guest to leave? Pengzhan had a restaurant in Songshan as well, but he'd never done something like this before. Even if it was a competitor, he'd treat them well. "Our chairman's words are the rules," the manager said faintly. "If you guys don't leave, we'll have to ask the security department to step in. The chairman said that we'll use diplomacy before force. So please make your decision quickly." A threat. This was a blatant threat. Pengzhan felt that this Lei Daming was going too far. This wasn't business at all, it was like a gang. Chapter 2345. Wrong door entering the wrong door. This was the boss style. After the manager's words, there was an awkward silence. Pengzhan, on the other hand, felt like a scholar meeting a soldier. Lin Yi, on the other hand, frowned. He was about to say something when someone else spoke up. "Boss, I'm here." Han Xiaopa rushed into the room, but he didn't seem to notice the awkward atmosphere in the room. Instead, he chattered to Lin Yi. "I'm sorry I rushed all the way here, but this restaurant is a little far from my house. Hehe, to express my apology, I'll treat you." "Treat? There's no need to invite us. You've come for nothing. Our chairman doesn't welcome you. You can leave now." The lobby manager was a little amused. This person didn't even know what was going on here, and still wanted to treat them? Han Xiaopa was taken aback. Only then did he realize that the person in front of him was not wearing a waiter's uniform, but a lobby manager's uniform. Moreover, the next moment, he also noticed that the atmosphere in the private room was not quite right. Meanwhile, Lin Yi was frowning. F***CKme. Who is the chairman of this restaurant? Han Xiaopa was really shocked. Was there something wrong with this person's head? He even dared to chase away Lin Yi? What did he mean by he wasn't welcome? Of course, the boss didn't need to do anything. As a follower, Han Xiaopa could take care of this. The Hidden House Hans had always kept a low profile, but that didn't mean that Han Xiaopa would do the same because of Lin Yi. How dare this person tell him that they were all unwelcome guests? "Who do you think you are?" Han Xiaopa said angrily. "Huh?" The lobby manager's eyes widened. He didn't expect this person to be even more arrogant than he was. "Tell your chairman that I'm Han Xiaopa, from the Hidden House Hans of Donghai. If he doesn't welcome me, I don't welcome him either. He can get the hell out of Donghai tomorrow. My family will take over his hotel and properties." Han Xiaopa's voice wasn't loud, but it was intimidating. Donghai's Hidden House Hans had this confidence. Although they had been keeping a low profile all these years, they weren't afraid of trouble. They could tolerate other things, but insulting their boss was definitely not. Hidden House Hans? The lobby manager was stunned. Although he didn't have the ability to reach that level, as the lobby manager of the most luxurious restaurant in Donghai City, he had heard of the two big families in Donghai City, the Hidden House Zhao and the Hidden House Hans. These two giants were not to be messed with. Therefore, the lobby manager's face changed. The Hidden House Hans. He couldn't stay calm when he heard this. He didn't have the arrogant attitude he had when he entered the private room. Instead, he said directly, "Sorry, I went to the wrong room." Then, he ran away with his tail between his legs, and went to call the chairman with a long face. Although the lobby manager vaguely knew that the chairman had some power and background, it seemed that he didn't have much power and background. Therefore, he wisely chose to swallow his anger. President Zhao. The lobby manager called Zhao Guangxi, the chairman of the Guangxi Group, which was behind the Arctic Ocean seafood restaurant. "Well, how is it? Did you finish the things I asked you to do?" Zhao Guangxi asked. "President Zhao, it's bad. People from the Hidden House Hans are here. They say their name is Han Xiaopa. He's with the person in the private room that you wanted to kick out," the lobby manager said with a bitter face. As soon as he came, he shouted that you should get out of Donghai City. He said that his family will take over your business. What? People from the Hidden House Hans? Why are they here? Zhao Guangxi was shocked when he heard the lobby manager's words. He didn't expect people from the Hidden House Hans to interfere. Didn't the Hidden House Hans not do business? How did he get involved in this matter this time? Zhao Guangxi suddenly had a headache. If it was before, he naturally wouldn't be afraid of this Hidden House Hans. On one hand, he and the young master of the Hidden House Zhao Guangyin were relatives. He was considered a peripheral business member of the Zhao family. He gave a lot of money to the Hidden House Zhao every year, so the Hidden House Zhao would naturally support him. On the other hand, before the Hidden House Summit, the Hidden House Han was still a small and weak family. They were the target that all the big hidden houses wanted to divide. However, after the Hidden House Summit, the situation suddenly changed. The Hidden House Han miraculously gained a stable foothold, and the Hidden House Zhao seemed to be afraid of them and didn't suppress them as much as before. Although Zhao Guangxi, as a peripheral member, didn't know the inside story, he knew that the Hidden House Hans were not to be messed with. Besides, he was completely marginalized by the Hidden House Zhao now. Because of his son, Zhao Fafa's matter, he was dragged into it. Chapter 2346. Elder Bai comes out because of Zhao Qibing's words. Zhao Guangxi was kicked out of Songshan and came to Donghai City to do business. Of course, since he continued to give Zhao Guangyin a large sum of money every month to the hidden Zhao family, he quickly gained a foothold in East Ocean City. However, he was no longer able to go to a higher level. The Hidden House Zhao chose a new business representative. This person was the chairman of Donghai Commerce, Lei Daming. Just now, it was Lei Daming's order to chase them away. Naturally, he couldn't go against Lei Daming's request. After all, he and Lei Daming were on the same side. It seemed like he had kicked an iron board. He had to make it clear to Lei Daming that the Hidden House Hans had to be suppressed by the Hidden House Zhao. However, Zhao Guangxi didn't have the ability to ask the Hidden House Zhao to come out, but Lei Daming could. I understand. Don't do anything rashly. Just serve them the food step by step. Don't show yourself. I'll arrange for someone else to go. Zhao Guangxi said. Yes, Mr. Zhao. The manager quickly replied. After putting down the phone, Zhao Guangxi couldn't wait to call Lei Daming. Mr. Zhao, is it done? Lei Daming was eating at the Northern Ice Sea seafood restaurant. Naturally, he thought that it was done after receiving Zhao Guangxi's call. As far as he was concerned, this wasn't a big deal at all. Zhao Guangxi was the owner of this place. If he didn't serve a table of customers, then so be it. What could Chu Pingzhan do? Done what, Mr. Lei? You've screwed me over. They have a backer too. Zhao Guangxi was related to Zhao Guangyin, so he wouldn't be too humble in front of Lei Daming. He cried. They invited a Hidden House Hans Han Xiaopa. I couldn't handle it anymore. Han Xiaopa not only threatened me to get out of Donghai City, but he also wanted me to take away my business. Mr. Lei, you can't just ignore this. Hidden House Hans? How are they related to Chu Pingzhan? Lei Daming frowned, confused. Alright, don't worry about it. I'll report it to the boss right now. The boss Lei Daming was talking about was naturally Zhao Guangyin of the Hidden House Zhao. Lei Daming was his spokesperson at the moment, and the reason why Lei Daming didn't want Pingzhan to enter the Eastern Sea market was mainly because Pingzhan's business overlapped too much with Lei Daming's. Hotels, shopping malls, real estate, all of them were profitable projects. Pingzhan wasn't weak, and his capital flow wasn't small either. It was very possible that it would affect Lei Daming's business, and if Guangyin were to blame him, he'd have to take responsibility. So Lei Daming didn't feel like he was in the wrong. He called Guangyin directly. Boss, there's trouble. What trouble? Guangyin's attitude towards Lei Daming wasn't bad. Ever since Lei Daming was supported, he'd been doing very well in Donghai, bringing House Zhao a lot of profits every month. There was also a lot of sustainable profits, so Guangyin had high hopes for him. I told you before, I'm working with the local merchants in Donghai, trying to force an outsider out of the market, not letting him do business in Donghai. After all, his business overlaps with ours. Lei Daming explained the situation clearly, proving that he wasn't trying to make a personal grudge with the Hidden House Hans. Yes, I know. Does this outsider have a background? Guanyin quickly connected the dots. That's right, someone from the Hidden House Hans is here to support them. Lei Daming nodded. The person is called Han Xiaopa. What? The Hidden House Han Xiaopa is the outsider's backer? Guanyin paused. Didn't the Hidden House Hans not do business? Could it be that after the Hidden House summit ended, the Hidden House Hans also bared their fangs and prepared to do business to make money? That's right. This is what happened today. Lei Daming didn't hide anything. He directly told Zhao Guangxi about how he met the outsider at the Arctic Ocean seafood restaurant, and how he made Zhao Guangxi embarrass him. Well, you did the right thing. Guanyin nodded after listening. This Lei Daming was arrogant and despotic, but at the end of the day, he was thinking about the Hidden House Zhao's business, so Guanyin had to stand up for him. Moreover, even if this didn't happen, the Hidden House Zhao still couldn't take it lying down. After the Hidden House summit, the Hidden House Hans were no longer as cautious and low-key as before. Instead, they started to be active in Donghai City and made their voices heard. It seemed like they wanted to compete with the Hidden House Zhao. At the Hidden House Summit, the Hidden House Hans used their relationship with Lin Yi to make the Hidden House Zhao suffer enough. After Lin Yi left, the Hidden House Hans were still jumping up and down, even supporting an outsider. Guanyin couldn't let this continue. If he gave in this time, he believed that the Hidden House Hans would take advantage of him and get more serious every time. He had to kill their ambitions the moment they bared their fangs. Boss, what should we do now? Lei Daming asked carefully. Isn't it just Han Xiaopa? Guanyin smiled coldly. He really thinks he's someone important. Don't worry. I'll let Qibing and Elder Bai come out and teach this arrogant bastard a lesson. Does he really think that the Hidden House Hans can compete with the Hidden House Zhao? He's overestimating his own strength. That's great. Lei Daming was overjoyed. He didn't think that Guanyin would send Zhao Qibing, the heir of the Hidden House Zhao, and Elder Bai, the core of the Hidden House Zhao. Just you wait, they'll be here soon. Guanyin couldn't order Elder Bai around, but he could order Qibing. If Qibing went, Elder Bai as his master had to go as well. After all, Han Xiaopa was an Earth-class early phase. If Han Xiaopa made a move, then Qibing would be at a disadvantage. But if Elder Bai went, then the situation would be different. Elder Bai wouldn't just sit and watch, and Han Xiaopa wouldn't dare make a move. Yes, thank you, boss. Lei Daming said quickly. In Lin Yi's room, Han Xiaopa closed the door unhappily and walked to Lin Yi with a smile. Boss, what's going on? Chapter 5966. That's right. Third brother. Has my seclusion gone smoothly? Patriarch Xianjun asked. All these years he had focused his energy on cultivation and alchemy. He had basically stopped managing the sex affairs. He only knew about Patriarch Xianchun's plan, but did not participate in it. Second brother. Patriarch Xianchun paused and said sadly. It's not going well. Second brother, something big happened a while ago. What? Something big happened? What happened? Patriarch Xianjun's expression froze. He stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Patriarch Xianchun. What happened? Second brother, Tagan Long has been crippled. Patriarch Xianchun sighed and said bitterly. What? Tagan Long has been crippled? Patriarch Xianjun was shocked when he heard that. What's going on? How did he get crippled? Second brother, it's like this. Patriarch Xianchun explained Tagan Long's situation to Patriarch Xianjun. When he was done, he said, originally, I placed my hopes on second brother. I thought that after second brother came out of seclusion, he would be able to refine grade 4 elixirs. Then he would be able to refine the Great Return Pill and the Great Meridian Channel Conduit Pill. But, if he could refine a grade 4 elixir, boss would also. Patriarch Xianjun smiled helplessly. I haven't been able to make any breakthroughs in the past 3 years. I reckon that in the next few years, I won't be able to make any progress. There's no hope for a grade 4 elixir. So, I acted on my own and activated the backup plan. After all, a person with a 5-elemental constitution is quite difficult to find. After searching for so many years, We finally found Tagan Long, a 1 in a billion person with a compound constitution, Patriarch Xianjun said. The backup plan. Patriarch Xianjun nodded. He knew a thing or two about the backup plan, but it wasn't too detailed. Are you confident about the backup plan? The chances are 50-50. Whether or not the spy succeeds will depend on what happens next, Patriarch Xianjun said. He lowered his voice and whispered in Patriarch Xuanjun's ear. Patriarch Xianjun invited them to eat. Patriarch Black Earth was actually afraid that Little Fool and Little Three would hear it. After all, only he and Little One knew about this matter. Xianjun Ancestor nodded and said, I hope it will succeed. I didn't think that such a big thing would happen during this closed-door training. There's nothing I can do. If I don't succeed this time, I can only slowly search for someone with a suitable physique. Patriarch Xianjun sighed helplessly. Tagan Long, other than using grade 4 pills, is there no other way to recover? Patriarch Xianjun asked. Second brother, you can go and take a look. Other than that, I really can't think of any other fortuitous encounters, Patriarch Black Earth said. Let's go take a look then. At this point, Patriarch Xianjun could only try his best. The two of them quickly came to the room, where Tagan Long was recuperating. Although Tagan Long's injuries were under control, he had not woken up yet. His pulse was very messy, and Patriarch Xianjun was only temporarily holding on to his life. It was impossible for him to recover. Patriarch Xianjun carefully felt Tagan Long's pulse. His brows furrowed deeply, and he remained silent for a long time. In the blink of an eye, it was time for school to end at noon. There was no class in the afternoon, so Lin Yi said goodbye to Wang Xinyan and walked out of the classroom with Han Jingjing. Xiaolong wanted to go over and talk to Wang Xinyan, but thinking of the embarrassing incident today, he gave up in the end. He guessed that if he talked to Wang Xinyan now, she wouldn't give him a good attitude, so he could only give up. Moreover, he had an appointment with Right Coiling Tiger to go to the natural ski resort in Jiduan City to investigate first, so he left the classroom with Right Coiling Tiger. Big bro Lin Yi, are you trying to scam Right Coiling Tiger's herbs again? Han Jingjing asked Lin Yi after leaving the classroom. Yes, we don't have any herbs on hand, so we can only get them from Right Coiling Tiger again, Lin Yi said. Since this kid came to us voluntarily, there's no need for us to let him go. Oh, then how do you need Jingjing to cooperate? Han Jingjing nodded. She didn't refute Lin Yi's suggestion at all. Next time he comes to talk to you and asks you something, just say that you lack herbs. Every time he comes, you ask him for herbs until he realizes that he's been tricked and stops falling for it, Lin Yi said. Yes, Han Jingjing nodded. After Right Coiling Tiger realizes that he's been tricked, he won't look for trouble with me, right? If he does, just tell him that I'm the one who told you to do this. Tell him to come to me. Lin Yi took the trouble directly. He wasn't afraid of Right Coiling Tiger. Jingjing understands, Han Jingjing nodded. There were no classes in the afternoon for medicine, but Mengyao and Yushu had classes in the afternoon. Lin Yi called Mengyao and asked her to have lunch together. Lin Yi and Han Jingjing arrived at the Economics Faculty's building and saw Mengyao and Yushu not long after. Seeing the smile on Yushu's face, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that Shu's problem was solved, but Lin Yi couldn't figure it out. Who was the one who told Shu to assassinate him? Who could order Shu around? Or in other words, what reason did they have to make Shu do this? It was just that Shu didn't want to talk about it, and Lin Yi couldn't force her. As long as she looked fine, Lin Yi was relieved. Lin Yi looked at Mengyao, and Mengyao nodded at him, indicating that Shu was fine. What do you want to eat for lunch? Lin Yi asked. Do you want to eat in the cafeteria or outside? Let's eat outside. Shu wants to have a big meal, Yushu said after some thought. Today's incident allowed her to get away with it, and it made Shu feel like she survived a disaster. Especially since she didn't have to target Lin Yi anymore. She was very happy. She wanted to have a big meal to celebrate. Okay, let's go out for a big meal, Lin Yi nodded. Should we call Xinyan sis? Yushu suggested. I'll ask. If Lin Yi was eating in the cafeteria, he wouldn't call Xinyan, but it was better to ask if he wanted to eat outside. He dialed Wang Xinyan's number and asked, Xinyan, where are you? Jing Jing, Yao Yao, and Shu are going out to eat. Do you want to come? Chapter 5967. But the situation was different now. She didn't want the Sky Elixir sect to be angry at Lin Yi, so she purposely kept her distance from Lin Yi. I'm not going, I'll go to the cafeteria with Mei Wei and Ling. Xingyan. Who's treating you to dinner? Meiyue's voice came from the other side. It's Lin Yi. You guys still have classes in the afternoon. Let's go to the cafeteria, Xingyan said. Afternoon classes start at 2:02. It's still early. Meiyue snatched the phone from Xingyan. Lin Yi, you don't mind if Ling and I go with you, right? Naturally, I don't mind. Lin Yi smiled. Then call Bai Weituo and Zhao Xingji over as well. Sure. Meiyue agreed right away. Xingyan was really pissed off. Chapter 2424. It was funny, but she couldn't explain it. What should she say? Was she afraid that her fiancé would do something to Lin Yi? If she told the truth and Xiaolong heard about it, how would she explain it? She hoped that Xiaolong wouldn't see it and agitate him. Xingyan comforted herself in her heart. Let's go then. Xingyan helplessly took out her car keys and prepared to go to the parking lot. Meiyue, on the other hand, called Bai Weituo. Xingyan saw Lin Yi, Han Jingjing, Ming Yao, and Yushu from afar when she got to the parking lot. She was familiar with all of them, but it was awkward to see them again. She'd just rejected Lin Yi's confession yesterday, and now she was eating with Lin Yi. It was weird. Meiyue and Xiaoling were used to Lin Yi being surrounded by beauties. It was something between Xingyan and Lin Yi after all. Xingyan sis, Shield bro missed you so much. He kept looking left and right. Yushu called out to Xingyan. Xingyan blushed a little, but Lin Yi, on the other hand, was happy. He wasn't happy that Yushu had spoken up for him, but that Yushu was back to her usual playful self. It seemed that her problem had been solved. Yeah, Lin Yi's been nagging you the whole time. Chapter 2424. Death unexpectedly. Ming Yao put in a good word for Lin Yi when they bumped into each other. Oh really? Xingyan's heart skipped a beat. This feeling made her heart beat faster. Had she really fallen for Lin Yi? But what could he do? Wang Xingyan realized that ever since Lin Yi confessed to her, her heart had been a little unsettled. Originally, Xingyan thought that she could pretend to be a normal friend in front of Lin Yi, but some feelings couldn't be faked. Her heart raced when she saw Lin Yi. It was a feeling that scared her, but it made her yearn for it. Meiyue and Xiaoling looked at Ming Yao and Yushu, a little surprised. Lin Yi had said that he was asked by a relative to take care of Ming Yao and Yushu, and lived with them. But Ming Yao and Yushu were so pretty, and Lin Yi was living under the same roof as them. Meiyue and Xiaoling wouldn't believe it if they said that there wasn't anything going on between them. After all, who wouldn't be moved by two pretty girls in front of them? So naturally, they thought that Ming Yao and Yushu were Wang Xingyan's enemies. But now, hearing that both Ming Yao and Yushu were helping Lin Yi chase after Wang Xingyan, they were a little surprised. Xingyan, it seems like you and Lin Yi are quite close. You're already thinking about him after class. Meiyue teased with a smile. Yao Yao and Shu are joking, right? Xingyan said nervously. Haha, joking or not, we all know about your relationship with Lin Yi. Xiaoling said with a smile. Sigh. Xingyan was really helpless. It seemed like her relationship with Lin Yi couldn't be explained no matter what. She just hoped that Xiaolong wouldn't hear about it. Otherwise, he'd ask Kong Ming for help in a fit of anger. After a while, Bai Weituo and Zhao Xingji ran over in a hurry. Bai Weituo said breathlessly, I say, Lin bro, why didn't you say earlier that you were going to treat us? Zhao Xingji and I were waiting in line to sell our food, and it was almost our turn. We wasted 20 minutes just like that. We should have gone back to the dorms and rested. It was an impromptu decision, Lin Yi said with a smile. Why do you have to talk so much when you're here to freeload? Two cars, a Grand Cherokee and a Porsche Cayenne, left the school one after another. They arrived at a rather luxurious restaurant near the school. The restaurant looked nice, but it didn't have a private room. It was probably because it was close to the school, and the cost of living here was lower. It wasn't worth it to get a private room. There were booths in the hall, and Lin Yi and the others chose a bigger booth and walked over. Halfway there, Lin Yi felt a gloomy and resentful gaze directed at him. Lin Yi turned around and saw Xiaolong and Tiger Right, as well as Tiger Right's two colorful followers. They were sitting in a booth not far away eating. Xiaolong was naturally furious when he saw Lin Yi and Xingyan walk into the restaurant side by side. If it was before, Xiaolong wouldn't be this angry. After all, he didn't have the right to be angry. House Kong had always been a weak existence in front of Lin Yi. But it was different now. He was the brother of the last disciple of the Sky Elixir sect's fifth elder. His confidence was inflated, and Xiaolong didn't know his place anymore. But Lin Yi only glanced at Xiaolong faintly. He didn't have the slightest intention of greeting him. He turned around and continued sitting in the booth with Xingyan and the others. Fuck, Xiaolong cursed, but he was afraid that Lin Yi would beat him up if he heard it, so he lowered his voice. His confidence was inflated, and he thought that he had the background to compete with Lin Yi. But he wasn't an idiot. He didn't think that Lin Yi wouldn't dare beat him up if he cursed at Lin Yi. Although there were a lot of rules in Boss Bai's class, if you scolded and provoked others first, and got beaten up, Boss Bai probably wouldn't stand up for you as long as you weren't beaten to death. It looks like Xingyan is interested in Lin Yi. Tiger Right clicked his tongue when he heard Xiaolong's cursing. That should be the case. Do you have any good ideas, brother you? Xiaolong was a PhD, but he knew nothing about picking up girls. He could only ask Tiger Right for advice. Chapter 5968. After all, love was free now, and whether Lin Yi liked his disciple or not was another matter. Boss Bai couldn't care so much. He actually really wanted Lin Yi and Xinxin to communicate more. Although Lin Yi didn't know alchemy, his medical skills and theoretical knowledge were quite powerful. Especially today, the speed and effect of Lin Yi's healing for Han Jingjing made Boss Bai gasp in amazement. And it was naturally his wish to have Lin Yi visit his home often. That was why he said that. He didn't expect Xinxin to misunderstand. Okay, let's talk later. See you later. Boss Bai didn't hear the negative emotions in Xinxin's tone. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Xinxin hung up the phone and couldn't help but pout. She thought to herself, I don't care what kind of young talent you are. I guarantee that you won't want to eat again after eating, and won't dare to come again. Humph. After the call, Lin Yi returned to Boss Bai's office, and Boss Bai had just finished the call. Mr. Bai, have you made the arrangements? Lin Yi asked. Yes, everything is arranged. Let's go together. Boss Bai said, stood up, and walked out of the office with Lin Yi, walking to the family area of the school. Boss Bai lived in a separate professor's villa in the university. His status was superior, so he was naturally qualified to enjoy the villa. As they walked, Boss Bai introduced, this disciple of mine not only makes rapid progress in alchemy, she also has a very outstanding ability in identifying medicinal herbs. You can often discuss and compare notes. Especially her ability to identify medicinal herbs, she is not worse than you. Boss Bai said, currently she is already a first-grade alchemist, and she is trying to break through to the second grade. Oh, so good? Lin Yi couldn't help but be a little surprised. Boss Bai used to be a genius alchemist. As long as his disciples' aptitude met the requirements, and some were not so stupid, it was not surprising that she became a first-grade alchemist. But in identifying medicinal herbs, this was talent. Lin Yi had this kind of talent, and even old man Lin was slightly inferior to him. So when Lin Yi heard that there was someone who was similar to him, he was naturally interested. Of course, if it weren't for your good relationship with Han Jingjing, I would have introduced her to be your girlfriend, Boss Bai said. I'll pass. You can introduce me to Bai Weitua or Bai Weikai, Lin Yi said. Do you think I don't know that Bai Weitua has a girlfriend? Isn't she called Himeiwa? Boss Bai said. And even if he doesn't, I won't introduce him. They are not the same kind of people, and they won't be happy in the future. But you are different. You are both cultivators and you both have talents in this aspect, so Bai Weikai can't. Hee. Lin Yi smiled and didn't continue. His current love life was already very complicated. Naturally, he would not accept Boss Bai's kindness. As the two talked, they came to the school's family area. In front of Boss Bai's villa, Lin Yi looked at the medicinal herbs planted in Boss Bai's yard, and couldn't help but be a little surprised. It was already winter, Although these medicinal herbs were in the self-made greenhouse, it was quite difficult to cultivate them. It seemed that Boss Bai still had some ability in cultivating medicinal herbs. He should even be a little better than Old Man Lin. After all, the geographical location of West Star Mountain Village was like spring all year round, which was more suitable for the growth of medicinal herbs. But here it was different. Without some special methods, it was difficult to let the medicinal herbs grow. Are you interested in my medicinal herbs? Boss Bai saw that Lin Yi was looking at the medicinal herbs in the yard, so he asked with a smile. Yes, but they are all medicinal herbs used to make first-grade pills. The second-grade pill only has one kind of medicinal herb, which is laxative pill. Lin Yi said, my disciple is currently a first-grade alchemist, so I planted some medicinal herbs needed for first-grade pills. As for second-grade pills, she is currently only a trial, so she can't form pills yet. So any pill is the same. The medicinal herbs used for laxative pill are easier to grow, have a higher yield, and are easier to cultivate, so I planted this one. Boss Bai explained. When she truly becomes a second-grade alchemist, I will cultivate it again. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. In the kitchen of Boss Bai's house, a beautiful figure was busy. If Lin Yi was here, he would definitely be surprised, because this person was actually Xiao Shi Guan Xian. According to Boss Bai's instructions, Guan Xian made 8 dishes in one soup, all of which were meticulously made by her. Although she didn't really want to get to know some young talent, he was after all someone her master admired. Since Boss Bai had already asked, Guan Xian couldn't refuse, but it was impossible for her to use her best cooking skills to entertain the guests. This was also because Boss Bai was usually too kind to her. If it was a master and disciple in a normal sect, then how could the disciple dare to disregard the master's words and execute them? However, Guan Xian was Boss Bai's last disciple, and because of her rapid progress in alchemy, Boss Bai doted on her a lot. This was also the reason why Guan Xian dared to cook terrible food. In her eyes, the dishes she cooked only needed to look good, and if the taste was bad, even if the guests were unhappy after eating, they wouldn't be able to say anything, and at most they wouldn't come to eat again. In the end, she made a big mistake. It turned out that the young talent her grandpa had been talking about was her sweetheart, Lin Yi. At that time, Guan Xian regretted it so much that she wanted to die. She finally got to show off her cooking skills in front of her sweetheart, but she didn't think that it would be ruined by her own hands. Fortunately, Lin Yi didn't mind, or Guan Xian would be really embarrassed. Sigh, it's been a few months since I've been Boss Bai's disciple. I wonder how Lin Yi is doing? She hadn't heard from him for a long time, and she couldn't help but think of Lin Yi's tall and straight figure. Thinking of Lin Yi, Guan Xian couldn't let the young talent who came today have any feelings for her. What if he really took a liking to her, and came to visit often? At that time, she wouldn't be able to kick this senior or junior brother out, because of her master's face, and that would be troublesome. Therefore, Guan Xian gave it her all, displaying her cooking skills to the fullest. The dishes she made were as beautiful as they could be, but the taste was as bad as it could be. It was guaranteed that people who ate it once wouldn't want to eat it a second time in 100 years. The doorbell of Master Bai's villa rang, as the delicately made, fragrant, and tasty dishes were served on the table. Chapter 5969. Guan Xian was embarrassed, but she couldn't say it out loud. She didn't know how to explain. At that moment, Lin Yi had just finished making the last steamed pork with preserved vegetables, and had just come back. Hearing Boss Bai's question, Lin Yi explained with a smile. Well, this is actually what happened. Lin Yi then told Boss Bai and Madame Bai about his visit to Guan Shuimin's house. Coming from Lin Yi's mouth, it was naturally interesting. Boss Bai and Madame Bai were amused and didn't blame Guan Xian anymore. Haha, so that's how it is. Alright, then let's have a taste of Lin Yi's cooking. Boss Bai picked up another piece of meat, and carefully put it in his mouth. But this time, he wasn't confident enough to swallow it all at once. Instead, he savored it slowly. But this time, as soon as it entered his mouth, the rich aroma made him swallow the rest of the meat as well. Delicious! Even better than Xian's cooking? Mistress Bai took a bite of the cold dish, nodding to herself. Changing a dish was much harder than cooking, and Guan Xian's dish was already disgusting. But Lin Yi was able to turn it back into a delicacy after putting it back into the wok. Just how skilled did he have to be to do that? This is not something that can be done by just anyone with good cooking skills. Guan Xian's face was also full of admiration. Lin Yi didn't do anything last time, so she didn't know that Lin Yi had this kind of ability. Now that she saw Lin Yi, she was even more moved. No wonder her grandpa and master admired him so much. So when Boss Bai said that Lin Yi was better than her, she wasn't angry. Instead, she felt proud. Yes, Lin Yi is actually very good. Haha, I thought that Xian wouldn't be happy if Lin Yi was the senior brother. But it seems like that won't be the case, right? Boss Bai asked with a smile. Yes, of course not. Guan Xian nodded matter-of-factly, but she was curious. Lin Yi, you know alchemy too? I won't. Lin Yi simply shook his head and said, my constitution is very strange. I can condense a pill fire, but I can't control the intensity and temperature of the fire. Is it because your body lacks the wood attribute? Guan Xian paused. That's not it. Maybe there are too many attributes, so it's a mess, Lin Yi said. That's right. Lin Yi's body has too many attributes, and they aren't fusing well with each other, causing them to restrain and restrict each other. That's why he's in such a situation. These days, I've been looking through some ancient books left behind by my sect, hoping to find a reliable solution. Boss Bai nodded and said, but we haven't found anything yet, but we have found some clues. In Lin Yi's case, he lacks an opportunity. If we can combine the several mutually restraining attributes in his body and form a small cycle in his body, the problem will be solved. Minor circulation? Lin Yi didn't expect Boss Bai to find a solution. He couldn't help but be a little surprised. In other words, it's still possible for me to make alchemy, right? That's right. Boss Bai nodded and said, you can indeed make alchemy. And similar situations have happened in the past generations of my sect. It's just that when I left, I took too little information with me. Most of the information I took was related to alchemy, not the records of those strange things. It's impossible to go back and ask about it now. Lin Yi nodded. He wasn't too disappointed. After all, what Boss Bai said was already a pleasant surprise for Lin Yi. Before, Lin Yi thought that he couldn't make alchemy at all. But now it seemed that he could. It was just that the attributes in his body hadn't fused and formed a small cycle. So there was a situation where they mutually restrained each other. It's okay, as long as there's hope, Lin Yi said. As for the specific method, we can slowly study and explore it. Well, come to my study after dinner. I'll show you that book. Boss Bai said. Okay. Lin Yi nodded readily. Guan Xian was confused. These attributes mutually restrained each other, a small cycle. She hadn't come into contact with it before, so she didn't really understand it. However, she only understood one thing, and that was that Lin Yi couldn't make alchemy. But there was hope for him to make alchemy. Senior brother Lin Yi, then you have to work hard. Xin is already a first-grade alchemist, and I'm trying to break through to second grade, Guan Xian said with some pride. She finally had something better than Lin Yi, and could finally become his right-hand man. Guan Xian was very happy today. Originally, she didn't have much interest in learning alchemy. She only wanted to learn medical knowledge, so that she could go back and help Lin Yi's company. Boss Bai's ardent hope made Guan Xian have no choice but to learn alchemy. Now it seemed that Lin Yi had also come into contact with alchemy, so Guan Xian felt that learning alchemy was a wise choice. She finally had something to surpass Lin Yi. Hee okay. Lin Yi said with a smile. Right, Xin, you're already trying to break through to second-grade alchemist? Is there any difficulty? Difficulty? Not for now. This thing is practice makes perfect. Guan Xian shook her head. I haven't made a second-grade pill yet. Actually, that's not the case. Boss Bai suddenly opened his mouth. The reason why Xin's success rate is so low is because the second-grade medicine cauldron I have here is a bit too broken. There's a crack on it, and during the alchemy process, the pill's aura will leak out, so the success rate is naturally much lower than normal. Under these circumstances, Xinxin's low success rate is understandable. Crack. Linny paused. Teacher Bai, wouldn't you use a medicine cauldron without a crack? This medicine cauldron is what I used when I was learning alchemy. I brought it with me back then as a souvenir. I can't even make pills myself. So what's the point of carrying a good medicine cauldron around? Boss Bai smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that after a few decades, I would be able to take in a disciple and teach her alchemy? The reason why Boss Bai was teaching outside was to stay away from the disputes of that place, and to find a wood-type inheritor according to the ancestors' teachings. A girl who was born with an extremely keen intuition for herbs. But when Boss Bai saw Guan Xian, he found that she not only had the talent of an inheritor, but also an alchemist, so he taught her alchemy. Regarding that, Boss Bai really couldn't ask Xianchen for a second-grade medicine tripod. After all, Xianchen was only inclined to Boss Bai to find a pure successor, not to raise an alchemist. To be continued. Chapter 5970. Morning Jingjing. How did you sleep last night? Did you have any nightmares? Linny asked. No, I dreamt that I went to fight monsters with Linny Gage. I slept very well. Han Jingjing didn't seem to be affected by yesterday's events at all. Jingjing sent all the information to the cloud disk and set a password. Even if the tablet was stolen, it wouldn't be a problem. I don't have to worry about them cracking the password. I can delete it from other apps at any time. Oh, Linny didn't really understand. He only nodded and let out a sigh of relief. He was worried about Han Jingjing's emotions, but it seemed like she wasn't affected at all. Breakfast is ready. Let's go eat together. Okay. Han Jingjing nodded and went to wake up her brother, Han Xiaoqiao, and went to eat with Linny. On this day, 3 things happened in the school. The first was that the school was going to host a charity gala. This was an event that was held every year. The school consciously cultivated the students' love. During the gala, some items would be auctioned. Some of these items were donated by students, and some were donated by celebrities. However, the money from the auction would be donated according to the situation. For example, in remote mountainous areas, welfare homes, orphanages, and so on. The donation targets were randomly decided by the school. However, when Linny heard the news, the first thing he thought of was Yu Xiaoke's orphanage. Although the students were the main group in the school's auction, there were many successful graduates and celebrities participating. There weren't many of them, but the amount of money they donated was much more than the students. Especially in a provincial city like Donghai, these celebrities would donate at least 1 million, so the total amount of money raised in every charity gala was quite sizable. So Linny had an idea. For this kind of thing, Linny could only ask Boss Bai. Given his special position in the school, Linny thought that he could help, right? As expected, after Boss Bai received Linny's call, he agreed without hesitation. Okay, I understand. I will suggest it to the school. It's not a big problem. If you want me to give this money to you personally, I definitely can't do it. But donating it to the orphanage is naturally doable. After all, this money was originally going to be donated to people who needed it. Thank you, Teacher Bai. After what happened yesterday, the relationship between Lin Yi and Boss Bai was much closer. Now that Boss Bai agreed to help, there shouldn't be much of a problem. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. Boss Bai smiled and said indifferently. The second thing was that Zhao Qibing's floating cloud bar had opened near the school. Su Jianong found some students and started distributing flyers in the school. Linny received one as well. Qibing's action surprised Linny. This guy was actually trying to get close to him. Aren't you afraid of getting beaten up? The third thing was that Pin Liang had returned to school, but this time, he kept a low profile. He didn't challenge anyone, nor did he challenge Linny directly. Instead, he went to school with Xiaofu as usual, and went to class as usual. Although Linny got the news, the two didn't do anything special. Linny naturally wouldn't cause trouble for them. He was happy with the peace and quiet. After the first class, Linny called Yu Xiaoke, planning to ask her about the orphanage's situation. Yu Xiaoke had quite a headache recently. There was a saying that people were afraid of being famous, just as pigs were afraid of being fat. The orphanage was famous now, and the new building was beautiful and practical. As a result, the number of orphans had increased a lot, especially the sick orphans. They were all sent to Yu Xiaoke's orphanage from hospitals all over the country. In fact, this couldn't be helped. Some poor people had children, and the children were sick. They didn't have money to treat them, so they could only leave them in the hospital. It wasn't the parents' fault. They had no other choice. As far as they were concerned, if there was a kind-hearted person or an orphanage that took them in, the child might be able to live. But if they couldn't treat them, they would die. However, this kind of sick orphan was rarely adopted. Even if those infertile couples adopted children, they would adopt healthy ones. Who would adopt a sick baby? And so, the monthly medical expenses had become the second biggest expense, after the orphanage's construction and food, and it was increasing every day. Yu Xiaoke couldn't just ignore these sick abandoned babies, could she? She wouldn't be Yu Xiaoke if she were that heartless. And so, Yu Xiaoke was willing to lower the standard of the orphanage's food in order to save the money for these filial children. At this moment, Yu Xiaoke was thinking about accepting a mission from the thief's door. She couldn't find a suitable one. The ones with too much money were too dangerous, or they were unrealistic. The simple ones were too little money, and they wasted a lot of time. Yu Xiaoke really didn't know what to choose. Ling Yi's call came in. Yu Xiaoke was a kind-hearted person, and she didn't want to answer the call from her admirer. But Ling Yi was her savior, and it wouldn't be good if she didn't answer. She had no choice. Hello? Ling Yi, you're looking for me? Oh, I'm just asking. How's the orphanage? Do you have enough money? Ling Yi frowned when he heard the bad tone in Yu Xiaoke's voice. What was wrong with Yu Xiaoke? Did she eat gunpowder? Did she have this attitude every time he saw her? It's all right. You don't have to worry about the money. I'll take care of it myself. Yu Xiaoke said coldly. I'm ready to accept a mission from the thief's door. It's a bit hard, but if I do it well, I'll get 10 million, right? You're going to accept a mission from the thief's door again. Ling Yi paused. He was about to say that he hadn't learned his lesson from the grave robbery. But then, he realized that his identity was Ling Yi, not the male thief. How would he know about the grave robbery? Yu Xiaoke only mentioned the mission to him, but she didn't tell him the details. Ling Yi quickly changed his words. The missions there are very hard, right? It'll be hard even for me. If you go, you'll be at a disadvantage. Do I need your concern? Yu Xiaoke didn't know why, but she was unhappy whenever Ling Yi cared about her. Chapter 5971. She felt that Ling Yi had an ulterior motive towards her, and so she tried her best to distance herself from Ling Yi. What if I don't accept the mission? You really don't know how expensive it is if you don't take care of the household. The orphanage receives many sick and abandoned babies from all over the country, and it's a huge expense just to treat them. What should I do if I don't accept the mission? I see. Ling Yi didn't expect the orphanage to have such a huge amount of problems, but he didn't want Xiaoke to be too tired. Don't make it hard for yourself. I'll help you think of a way. Other than the necessary investment from Fatty Lai, I'll help you think of other ways. In a few days, our school will have a charity banquet, and there will be an auction to raise money. I've already told my teacher that all the money raised will be donated to your orphanage. Ha! Donated to me? Xiaoke froze for a moment, and then became happy, but after the happiness, deep worry flashed in her eyes. Ling Yi was really too eager to help her. Xiaoke didn't believe that Ling Yi was just helping the orphanage. Even if he was a great philanthropist, there was no need for him to do this, right? Unless Xiaoke was a staff member of the orphanage, wouldn't that happen? In fact, Ling Yi wasn't so simple. Ling Yi was doing this because of the other male thief's identity, but Xiaoke didn't know about these things. And the money raised this time should be quite a lot. According to my teacher, the charity banquet every year can raise at least 10 million, up to 100 million. So forget about that thief's door mission. Ling Yi said. How old are you? You should enjoy life at this age, and do things that are appropriate for a girl your age. What should a girl my age do? Xiaoke was confused. She really didn't know what she should be doing at her age. Ever since she grew up, she had been running around for the orphanage. She didn't know what she should be doing. For example, going shopping, going to a beauty salon, buying some pretty clothes. Linny thought about it and told Xiaoko what the miss and Shu often did. Xiaoko was speechless. Do you think I'm a Ms. Perfect? Where would I get the money? I'll give it to you, Linny said. Bye. Xiaoko was so angry that she almost threw the phone on the ground. If it weren't for the fact that she had to buy a new phone, she would have thrown it out a long time ago. However, she still hung up on Linny angrily. Humph. You finally revealed your fox's tail, haven't you? You're giving me money. You want me to go shopping for clothes? Isn't this the same as providing for me? I finally figured out what you were thinking. You really are interested in me. But what to do? If Linny is really interested in me, can I reject him? If I reject him, what if he stops collecting money for the orphanage? But she couldn't let the male thief down. If she hadn't met him before, she wouldn't have rejected him like this. It wasn't easy to find someone who could support the orphanage's expenses, and it wasn't a bad idea to be his sugar mom. For the sake of the orphanage's children, it was fine. She could accept it. But now that Xiaoko had someone else in her heart, her way of thinking couldn't help but change a little. She was very repulsed by the meaning Linny revealed. So annoying, what should I do? Xiaoko was troubled again. She couldn't reject the temptation of Lin Yi's money, but she didn't want anything to happen between her and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't look like an idiot who didn't ask for anything in return, so Xiaoko knew that if she owed more and more favors like this, she'd be in big trouble in the end. Whatever. She'd just deal with the things in front of her first. She didn't directly respond to Lin Yi anymore. It was his business if he was willing to give her money, but if things really came out, she'd just reject him. He couldn't ask for the money back, could he? The male thief was still the nice. He gave her so much money and good stuff without asking for anything in return. Much better than Lin Yi. If Lin Yi knew what Xiaoko was thinking, he'd probably be depressed. How much did the male thief give her? His identity as Lin Yi gave her more than 10 times what the male thief gave her. But at this moment, Lin Yi looked at the phone in his hand curiously. What was wrong with Xiaoko? Did she just hang up and say goodbye? And it seemed like she was going berserk. He just asked her to go shopping. Did she have to be like this? Could it be that she had shopping rejection syndrome? Lin Yi shook his head, but didn't call Xiaoko again. He'd told her everything he needed to know, and when the money from the auction came out, he'd just donate it to the orphanage. At noon after class, Boss Bai was done with this matter. He directed the donation to the orphanage in Songshan, and announced the details of the charity party in front of the whole class. On this Friday night, our school will hold an annual charity evening party. Boss Bai said, I think many students have already seen the news on the BBS forum of our school. As for the details, I still have to tell you. The charity evening party is divided into 2 parts. The first part is the auction. The so-called auction is for everyone to donate some auction items and put them up for auction. There is no specific type of auction item. Anything is fine, but it has to be something worthy, otherwise it might not pass the audit. This is a voluntary donation, and there are no special requirements. The people who will participate in the auction are us students, and some alumni from the previous years, as well as the school staff and celebrities from the society. Everyone is willing to bid, and all the money from the auction will be donated to the orphanage. The second part is a voluntary donation, and there are no restrictions on the amount of money you can donate. As for the third segment, it's a masquerade ball. However, there's a limit to the conditions for participation. Only those who have donated and successfully traded items in the previous auctions, or those who have successfully bid for the items, can participate. Of course, this is also voluntary. Those who meet the requirements can also participate or not. However, this activity has always been a tradition of our school. At the masquerade ball, everyone can guess the identity of others. If you guess correctly, you can ask the person who is recognized to promise the other person one thing. Chapter 5972. Xingyan didn't wait for Lin Yi's reply before falling asleep. Lin Yi didn't know if he should laugh or cry. Was she too tired yesterday? That couldn't be. Xingyan went to school like normal yesterday, and didn't do anything that drained her energy. Linny had to continue practicing, so she went to bed early. Why was she so sleepy today? But since Xingyan said so, Linny had no choice but to leave her be. He went out to talk to Meng Yao and started eating breakfast, but Linny prepared a portion for Xingyan in a lunchbox. He'd bring it to school later. Linny had delayed going to school as much as he could, but even so, Xingyan was still drowsy when she woke up. She followed Linny to the car and fell asleep in the car again. Linny, is Xingyan sick again? Can you give her a checkup later? Meng Yao felt that something was wrong with Xingyan. She hadn't been like this yesterday, when Linny had gone to the tomb yesterday. Xingyan had woken up in high spirits, completely different from today. How could there be such a drastic change in just one day? All right, I'll check her when we get to school. Linny nodded. They parked the car at school, and Xingyan had to get up no matter how reluctant she was. She couldn't just sleep on the side of the road, could she? She didn't have the ability to sleepwalk yet. Do you want me to carry you to class? Linny asked, seeing how sleepy Xingyan was. Xingyan was almost tempted by Linny, but she couldn't provoke Xiaolong in school. She gritted her teeth and shook her head. No need, I can walk myself. All right. Linny didn't insist, and went to class with Xingyan. Wang Xingyan's head was heavy, and her feet were light. She almost fell a few times, and when she reached her seat, she fell asleep before Boss Bai came. Linny took the opportunity to examine her, and found that Xingyan's body, which had just recovered, was showing signs of weakness again. This situation surprised Linny. Xingyan had been drinking the medicine Lin Yi made for her every day, and her body should have been getting better and better. Why was it getting worse and worse? Linny frowned, not understanding what was going on. Xingyan had been so energetic last night. Why was she like this morning? Before Linny could think about it, Boss Bai walked into the classroom, and a new lesson started. Linny saw that Xingyan was too tired, so he didn't disturb her. He took her notes and started making notes for her. It was fine if Linny didn't remember these things. He was Boss Bai's special student after all, and he only came to class out of interest. Xiaolong looked at Linny and Xingyan, a dark look in his eyes. He didn't know how his brother Kong Mingming was doing in the Sky Elixir sect, and what kind of position he had. Watching his fiancée get close to another man really pissed him off. Kong bro, why don't you give your brother a call and ask him how he's doing? Pan Hu Right suggested, noticing Xiaolong's displeasure. I want to, but I don't have the guts to ask. You know that House Kong isn't even a normal noble house. How can we talk to an ancient sect? Xiaolong smiled bitterly. When Kong Mingming left, he communicated with us through your hidden house you. If we go to the Sky Elixir sect directly, they might not even respond to us. And even if they do, we don't have their contact information. I can give you their contact information, but you're right. Pan Hu Right nodded. How about this? I'll go back and ask around for you. Thank you, Xiaolong said gratefully. Xingyan didn't wake up until her afternoon nap. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked at the time on her phone. She jumped in shock. It's already noon? I've been sleeping all this time. Yeah, you looked really tired, so I didn't want to disturb you. Linny smiled as he pushed a box of food in front of Xingyan. I bought this from the cafeteria. Hurry up and eat it, it's getting cold. There's also breakfast here. If it's not enough, you can have some. With that, Linny took out the breakfast he prepared this morning. He saw that Xingyan hadn't woken up yet, so he asked Bai Weituo to buy 2 boxes of food. He ate in the classroom. I'll eat your breakfast. I like your food. Xingyan took the breakfast Linny made, a little embarrassed. Lin Yi's food was much better than the ones in the cafeteria. Xingyan had been living in Lin Yi's villa for a while now, and she'd gotten a lot pickier. Normal food didn't taste good anymore. Haha, it's up to you. Linny smiled. In the afternoon, Xingyan was still in good spirits. She yawned a lot, but it was much better than the morning. After a whole day of classes, she went home with Linny, Coiling Tiger. Right discussed with his uncle and grandpa about Xiaolong when he got home. Coiling Tiger, it's best if we don't mess with that Lin Yi. Him hitting on Xiaolong's wife has nothing to do with us. We shouldn't interfere, right? Yu Zhentian pondered for a moment before giving his opinion. You're right, But Kong Ming Ming is the disciple of the Sky Elixir Sect's fifth elder. If he inherits the elder's position in the future, it'll be like a man ascending to the heavens. No matter how strong Lin Yi is, he won't be as strong as the Sky Elixir Sect. He won't be able to go against them, right? Right? Coiling Tiger thought about it a lot, which was why he agreed to Xiaolong's request. Zhentian and Coiling Tiger are right, Old Yu said. However, if we call the Sky Elixir Sect secretly, Lin Yi won't know. It's just a small effort. Coiling Tiger, don't go against Lin Yi on the surface. If Xiaolong wants to go against you, just watch. You can attack him behind his back, but don't let him have anything to use against you on the surface. Old Yu thought more. He already knew what happened to the hidden house Yu. On the hidden level, Zhao Qibing's kidnapping of Yu Ning wasn't a secret anymore. Lin Yi was able to walk out of the hidden house Yu unscathed, which proved the hidden house Yu's attitude. If the hidden house Yu couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, then what did the hidden house Yu have to go against Lin Yi? I understand, right? Coiling Tiger nodded. How could he not know that Lin Yi couldn't be messed with? As a result, he kept a low profile in school. He knew that Han Jingjing had the notes, but he didn't dare to take it from her in public. What if Lin Yi found out and killed him? He wouldn't be able to explain himself. Chapter 5973. I'll call the young master of the Heavenly Elixir Sect now, said Old Man Yu. Yu Coiling Tiger and Yu Zhentian didn't dare to speak. They waited quietly on the side and watched Old Man Yu respectfully call the young master of the Heavenly Elixir Sect Silkworm Transformation. Although Silkworm Transformation wasn't old and was about the same age as Yu Coiling Tiger, he was the young master of the Heavenly Elixir Sect. His status was respected. It wasn't something that Old Man Yu could compare with. Hello, I'm the old master of the Hidden Yu family. May I ask if the young master is here? Old Man Yu said respectfully to the person who answered the phone. He didn't expect Silkworm Transformation to answer the phone personally. Oh, it's Master Yu. The young master isn't here. What's the matter? Asked the woman who answered the phone. Oh, when will the young master be free? Should I call again? Old Man Yu asked when he heard that Silkworm Transformation wasn't here. Our young master has been practicing in seclusion recently. He's preparing for a big event. He won't be able to answer your phone for a while. If you have anything, you can tell me, said the woman. I see. Old Man Yu was a little puzzled. What big event was Silkworm Transformation preparing for? But he didn't dare to ask. So he said, it's like this. Isn't Kong Ming Ming from the Kong family accepted as a disciple by the fifth elder? Now the Kong family wants to know how Kong Ming Ming is doing recently, so they asked me to help them find out. Oh, that's it. I'll ask Kong Ming Ming to call you back, said the woman after listening. She was the personal maid of Silkworm Transformation. Her status in the Heavenly Elixir Sect was naturally not ordinary, so she didn't have much respect for the disciple of the fifth elder. Okay, thank you, Old Man Yu said with a sigh of relief. Kong Ming Ming was refining the pill nervously at the moment. Success or failure depended on this. This was his second time refining the marrow and bone cleansing pill. The previous refining failed. The second refining must succeed, because there wasn't much time left until the Silkworm Transformation's requirements. So he had to give it his all. Kong Ming Ming knew that his current status and strength were all given to him by the Heavenly Silkworm Transformation. If he failed to refine the bone and marrow cleansing pill, the Heavenly Silkworm Transformation would naturally not think so highly of him, and he would not be able to gain a foothold in the Heavenly Elixir Sect. If Lin Yi was here, he would be very surprised, because Kong Ming Ming was now a heaven rank master, a yellow rank level 3 alchemist. This speed of leveling was simply akin to riding a rocket. Of course, in order to cultivate Kong Ming Ming, the Heavenly Elixir faction had fed him the Essence Gathering Pill, the Small Qi Gathering Pill, the Medium Qi Gathering Pill, and the Qi Gathering Pill. Kong Ming Ming's strength could be said to have skyrocketed. Very quickly, he became a heaven rank expert and a yellow rank level 3 pill master. The Qi Gathering Pill was concocted by the Xianjin ancestor. Otherwise, with the Heavenly Elixir factions Heaven, Earth, and Man, Although he could also concoct it, the success rate would not be so high, and he would not have had the time to give it to Kong Ming Ming. The fact that Kong Ming Ming received such care showed how important the bone and marrow cleansing pill was to the Heavenly Elixir faction, or rather, to the Five Elements sect. In the secret room sat Kong Ming Ming. His forehead was full of sweat as he concocted the bone and marrow cleansing pill. Beside him sat the Heavenly Elixir factions, Heavenly Elixir factions, Heavenly Elixir factions Heaven, Earth, and Man, as well as an old man that most people in the Heavenly Elixir faction did not recognize. This person was actually the Xianjun ancestor. The Xianjun ancestor was actually sitting here personally to supervise and guide Kong Ming Ming. One could imagine the importance of this pill concocting mission. Slowly increase the temperature, increase the intensity of the fire. The Xianjun ancestor ordered Kong Ming Ming. Kong Ming Ming carefully followed the instructions. Stabilize the temperature. Continue to increase the intensity of the fire. The Xianjun ancestor continued to order. Kong Ming Ming continued to follow the instructions. The heavenly silkworm female servant did not find Kong Ming Ming. She only saw the fifth elder, so she passed the elder Yu's call to the fifth elder. I understand. However, Kong Ming Ming is currently doing something big. Once he is done, he might be able to communicate with the outside world without any obstructions. The fifth elder was a little relieved, and a little emotional at the same time. If his disciple successfully concocted the bone and marrow cleansing pill, he would become the eighth elder of the Heavenly Elixir faction. Although his position would not be as high as the fifth elder, he would still be an elder. This was his disciple, so the fifth elder was naturally happy. However, think about how much effort he had put in to become an elder of the Heavenly Elixir faction. However, Kong Ming Ming's luck was good. Not only did he have someone to assist him in leveling up, but he also concocted a pill. This allowed him to stabilize his position as the eighth elder. Alright. The heavenly silkworm female servant nodded, and then left respectfully. She did not respect Kong Ming Ming much, but she was very polite to the fifth elder. In the Heavenly Elixir faction, the elders had a very high status. Other than the heavenly silkworm female servant, they had the highest status. As for the fifth elder, his eyes were fixed on the door of the secret chamber, and he was extremely nervous. Alright, slowly retract the fire. Ancestor Xianjun shouted and said excitedly. Yes. Kong Ming Ming also felt that the pill was completed, so he quickly began to retract the fire. When Kong Ming Ming finished retracting the fire, the ancestor Xianjun didn't care about the heat, and directly opened the lid of the medicine cauldron. Instantly, the room was filled with fragrance. The bone and marrow cleansing pill was successfully concocted. Kong Ming Ming wiped the sweat from his forehead, and a proud smile appeared on his face. He had been waiting for this moment, and he finally succeeded. He was going to become the eighth elder of the Heavenly Elixir faction. What Lin Yi? What Kong Xiaobo? They were all trash. No matter how powerful Lin Yi was, he was just jumping around in the aristocratic family level. Would he dare to go against the ancient level? What was there to be afraid of, if even the hidden level didn't dare to provoke them? Poor Kong Ming Ming still didn't know about Lin Yi's achievements during this period of time. He still didn't know that the hidden level didn't dare to provoke Lin Yi anymore. He still thought that Lin Yi was the same as before he left. Very good. But the quality is a bit lacking. Ancestor Xianjun looked at the bone and marrow cleansing pill in his hand excitedly, and then directly swallowed it. This scene made Kong Ming Ming dumbfounded. The ancestor Xianjun was also dumbfounded. This bone and marrow cleansing pill wasn't for him to consume. Didn't it have other uses? Why did ancestor Xianjun swallow it directly? Ancestor Xianjun looked at the two dumbfounded people in front of him and smiled. After I consume it, I can continue concocting. Although Zhao Ming can also concoct it, his skills are still not as good as mine. After I consume it, I can concoct a better quality bone and marrow cleansing pill. Oh! The ancestor Xianjun nodded. He was shocked earlier, thinking that ancestor Xianjun had suddenly changed his mind. Although it was ancestor Xianjun's turn to concoct the bone and marrow cleansing pill, Kong Ming Ming was also a great contributor to the Heavenly Elixir faction and Five Elements faction. Furthermore, the The Heavenly Elixir faction and Five Elements faction had spent a lot of resources to nurture him. Making him the 8th elder was reasonable. Chapter 5974. Is that so? Yushu wasn't interested in the boots at all. Han Jingjing went back to her house after dinner, while Mingyao, Yushu, and Xingyan went upstairs to sleep. Lin Yi didn't ask Xingyan to stay, afraid that he wouldn't be able to stop himself from practicing in the middle of the night. Xingyan, on the other hand, was too embarrassed to stay anymore. She'd been helping Lin Yi with his practicing before. What excuse could she use now? Lin Yi went back to his room and called Boss Bai to tell him that he was safe. He then asked, Master Bai, how is the inheritance in my body? Is there any news? I'm looking for information for you, but there's no news yet. Sigh, if only I was still in the Five Elements sect, but I can't ask them now. Boss Bai said helplessly. It's okay, there's no rush. Lin Yi said that, but he was still very worried. How about this? I'll call my second disciple and ask him if I have the chance. Boss Bai, naturally, understood what Lin Yi was thinking. He hesitated for a moment before making his decision. His relationship with Xianchen wasn't good, but his relationship with Xianzhen was very good. Boss Bai's alchemist had passed away a long time ago, and he barely taught him anything, and Xianzhen's alchemy skills were all taught by him. As a result, he had always been close to Xianzhen. It was just that they hadn't contacted each other for so many years, and he didn't know if Xianzhen was still the Xianzhen from before, or if he had turned to Xianchen's side. There won't be any side effects, will there? Lin Yi asked worriedly. I'll try. If it works, then it works. If it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. Boss Bai laughed and said indifferently, At most, I'll lose face. What's the big deal? Thank you, Master Bai. Lin Yi sighed, the former head of the Five Elements sect. He was the former master of the Five Elements sect, but he asked his former junior brother, and he might lose face. All of this was for him, so how could Lin Yi not dare to do it? If you can grow up, that will be my greatest joy. I still hope that we can return to the Five Elements sect together one day. Boss Bai said. Lin Yi didn't say anything else. Words of gratitude were unnecessary. It all depended on his future actions. Boss Bai hung up Lin Yi's call and hesitated for a long time before he finally called Xianzhen. In the Five Elements sect, Xianchen and Xianzhen's satellite phone numbers had not changed for many years. However, he had never taken the initiative to call them. He would rather forget about it. But today, for the sake of Lin Yi, for the sake of his disciple, he had to call Patriarch Xianzhen. Old ancestor Xianzhen was studying the pill recipe that Kong Mingming had brought back. It was a Tier 4 pill recipe, and this time around it was flawless. However, he was unable to refine it. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If eldest senior brother Xiantian was here, he would definitely be able to refine this pill, right? Eldest senior brother, are you alright? The profound truth patriarch only dared to reveal his true feelings when no one was around. Over the years, under the pressure of the profound earth patriarch, the profound truth patriarch did not dare to reveal his true feelings. He could only swallow his anger for the sake of the sect's grand plan. He could only cooperate with Xianchen. A phone rang. The profound truth patriarch thought that it was Patriarch Xianchen calling to ask him to return to the sect. After all, Patriarch Xianzhen had been staying in the Heavenly Elixir sect all this time. However, when the profound truth patriarch saw the caller ID on the phone, he was slightly stunned. It was actually an unfamiliar number. Hello? How are you? The profound truth patriarch picked up the phone. Because the satellite phone number was special, the possibility of calling the wrong number was relatively small. Therefore, although he didn't know who it was, he still picked up the phone. Xianzhen, is that you? When Boss Bai heard the profound truth patriarch's voice again, he was filled with emotions. It was as if he had returned to the time when he was young and brought Xianzhen to refine pills every day. That time was always so happy. You are eldest senior brother? The profound truth patriarch's eyes widened. The moment he heard the voice, tears filled his eyes. He didn't expect that the person he had been talking about just now would actually call him. Yes, it's me. Xianzhen, are you alright? Boss Bai asked. Eldest senior brother, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The profound truth patriarch had a lot of words to say, but in the end, it became that he was sorry, because he didn't know how to express his current complicated feelings. Hee, it's all in the past. I don't blame you. Boss Bai laughed. He had already thought through what happened back then. It shouldn't have anything to do with Xianzhen. He was just used. The person who did this should be Xianzhen. No, it's my fault. I'm too cowardly. After so many years, I didn't dare to find you and bring you back to the sect. Sob, sob, sob. The profound truth patriarch cried loudly like a child. However, he didn't care. In the secret chamber of the heavenly elixir sect, no one would know. At this moment, Boss Bai also understood that Xianzhen didn't walk the same path as Xianzhen. His personality was still as cowardly as before. Although he had become the patriarch of a sect now, he was still a child in his heart. Xianzhen, don't cry. I know what happened back then had nothing to do with you. Boss Bai comforted him. Yes, yes. Hearing this from Boss Bai, Xianzhen relaxed a lot. I came to find you this time because I have something to ask of you. Boss Bai was a little relieved. It seemed that his second junior brother could be trusted. Lin Yi's inheritance method should be settled. Eldest senior brother, please don't say that. If there's anything you need, just say it. It's not a request. If you want me to do something, just say it. The profound truth patriarch hurriedly said. But, you also know that there are some things that I can't do with Xianzhen around. Are you asking me not to target your disciple in the Five Elements sect? It's not that. Boss Bai denied. I won't make it difficult for you. It's something else. That's good. The profound truth patriarch let out a sigh of relief. He didn't dare to go against the profound truth patriarch. The Five Elements sect could be said to be completely under the control of the profound truth patriarch. He, the second patriarch, was actually just an empty shell. His force was only the heavenly elixir sect. However, it was only a force in the dark. On the surface, the heavenly elixir sect was still under the control of the profound truth patriarch. He couldn't do too much. Otherwise, the profound truth patriarch would see his flaws. He would be fine, but his two disciples would definitely be unlucky. Through dual cultivation, they can obtain the inheritance of the source power. The disadvantage of this method is that the inheritor must be a virgin. Otherwise, it won't have any effect. Oh, you can pass down the power of the origin in this way? Boss Bai was surprised. Is this method accurate? It should be accurate. That was what was recorded in the sect's ancient books. The reason why I remembered was because Xianzhen had researched about this before, about inheritors. Xianzhen is in charge. Xuanzhen Patriarch said. Although this method is simple, it is not very realistic. First of all, the known inheritors are prioritized for that plan. It will be very difficult for you to find other inheritors. First martial brother on your side. Who are you asking about this for? Oh, it's a friend of mine. I just want to know. It wasn't that Boss Bai didn't trust Xuanzhen, but he didn't want to reveal too much about Lin Yi. It seems that only the first method is more realistic. That should be the case. Old ancestor Xianzhen nodded. First martial brother, don't worry. Wait patiently and leave the rest to me. Okay, then we'll keep in touch. When you're done, just call me. Boss Bai said. After hanging up, Boss Bai immediately called Lin Yi and told Lin Yi what old ancestor Xianzhen said. After hearing this, Lin Yi was shocked. Dual cultivate with an inheritor? What does he mean by dual cultivation? Lin Yi had to admit that his thoughts were a little devious. There were many types of dual cultivation, and Yang Gua and Dragonesses was also called dual cultivation. But most of the dual cultivation in novels referred to dual cultivation in bed. I didn't ask about that. Since the inheritors have to be virgins, then dual cultivation should be, Boss Bai said. Okay. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. His second wife should be an inheritor. And if he dual cultivated with Xiao Xiao, would he be able to fill up one of his void attributes? Let her become a real slave. But the Ice Palace's requirement for Xiao Xiao was to maintain her virginity. That conflicted with dual cultivation. So Lin Yi didn't know what to choose. But isn't it a bit unrealistic for me to dual cultivate with 7 inheritors? Indeed, so I'm leaning towards the first method, but we'll have to wait for my junior brother Xian Zhen to come back with a copy of the method. Boss Bai said. He's under Xian Chen's control right now, and he can't touch the core secrets of the 5 Elements sect. Xian Chen is also working on the inheritors, but Xian Zhen doesn't know much about these things, and I don't either. Then what should we do if we dual cultivate? Linny asked. I didn't ask about that in detail. If you're interested, I'll go ask. Boss Bai said. Okay, there's no harm in knowing more. Linny nodded. After hanging up, Linny smiled bitterly. Boss Bai's news was good news, but it wasn't anything. Dual cultivating with an inheritor wasn't very realistic for Lin Yi. Even if Xiao Xiao was an inheritor, how long would it take to gather the other 6 inheritors? Even if he did, would they dual cultivate with him? Xiao Xiao would be fine, but what about the others? Lin Yi didn't want to do anything to force them. Plus, even if Lin Yi wanted to force them, would they be so easily forced? The inheritors all had ancient powers behind them. There was no way Lin Yi was going to force them. Shaking his head, Lin Yi decided not to think about this for now. Instead, he placed his hopes on the first inheritance method that Xuanjin mentioned. Chapter 5976. Chapter 2796. Someone from the Holy Fist Palace. Although Lin Yi was suspected to be a sneak attack, but whether it was a sneak attack or not, it showed how strong Lin Yi was. Gu Xian believed that if it was him, he wouldn't be able to do it. Plus, he clearly felt that the skill Lin Yi used was the 15th move of the Heaven class. This skill could only be used by a Heaven class mid-phase master. But Lin Yi was only an Earth class mid-phase master. Lin Yi, I'll see you in the test. Zhang Naipeo finally held back and didn't attack Lin Yi on the spot. Firstly, he was afraid that he would kill Lin Yi directly and affect the test plan. Secondly, if he didn't use his ultimate move, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to fight against Lin Yi. If Lin Yi took the initiative to attack him, it would be fine. But if he continued to attack his right-hand follower, then Zhang Naipeo would become a commander without an army. Oh, Lin Yi said casually. Humph. Zhang Naipeo humphed coldly and said to his other follower. Mo Ba, carry Mo Jio, let's go. Yes, gunslinger. Mo Ba's follower was scared. Lin Yi injured Mo Jio with one move, so he obviously didn't have much strength left. If he used another move, then he wouldn't be able to block it. Hearing Zhang Naipeo's words, Mo Ba was relieved. He carried Mo Jio and quickly left the restaurant with Zhang Naipeo. They came and left in a hurry, and didn't succeed in showing off. Gu Xian, you stopped me just now because... Lin Yi turned to Gu Xian and asked. Ah, only then did Gu Xian come back to his senses. The scene just now really shocked him. He didn't expect that the legendary Zhang Naipeo, who killed a disciple of the Holy Fist Palace on the trial road, would actually be defeated. And the person who defeated him was an individual cultivator that he just met. An individual cultivator that he didn't pay much attention to. Before, when Lin Yi said that he injured Feng Nitian, Gu Xian was only impressed. After all, he didn't see it with his own eyes. After all, a long time had passed, and he didn't really see any godly skills, so naturally, he didn't pay much attention to it. But now, Gu Xian finally understood why Lin Yi could defeat Feng Nitian. Before, I heard that disciple of the Holy Fist Palace also hit Zhang Naipeo once and became a cripple. I suddenly thought, Naipeo just stood there and let you hit him. Would be a problem? Gu Xian explained. I thought of this too, so I didn't hit him. Instead, I hit one of his followers. Lin Yi nodded. He'd been thinking of getting rid of as many as he could. Naipeo had brought 2 followers with him this time, which was something he was wary of. But now that he'd gotten rid of one, things were much easier. As long as he formed an alliance with Feng Shisan in the test, they should be able to fight against Zhang Naipeo. He would deal with Zhang Naipeo, and Feng Shisan would deal with Mo Ba. Unless Mo Ba was on the same level as Lin Yi, Feng Shisan, an early phase sky class, should be able to deal with him for a while. Yeah, although I don't know what's going on, but thinking about it, Zhang Naipeo, didn't even make a move before the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace was crippled. This is very strange, and he took the initiative to let you hit him. I feel that this is very strange, Guxian said. That's why I stopped you. Linny nodded. I'm worried about this too. This Zhang Naipeo is a disciple of the demon sect, and we can't use common sense to judge him. It seems that we need to investigate carefully. Don't worry, I'll try my best to find out, but the things I can find out are only on the surface. I can't do anything if it's too secretive. Guxian shrugged and said helplessly. Not long after Zhang Naipeo left, 3 practitioners came. They were obviously here to participate in the test, but one of them was alone. He looked like he was very unlucky, and the other 2 were on guard against him, as if they wanted to keep a distance from him. That disciple with the noob face is the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace. One of his companions was crippled by Zhang Naipeo, and because he has a grudge with Zhang Naipeo, the other 2 don't dare to get too close to him. Guxian explained to Lin Yi and the others in a low voice. Then where are the other 2 from? Lin Yi asked. I don't know about that, but I have news about that Holy Fist Palace disciple, because they fought with Zhang Naipeo, Guxian said. Young hero, why don't you come and sit with us? At this time, Feng Shizhang stood up and threw an olive branch to the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace. In fact, he was not stupid, but he was straightforward and honest. He also knew that Lin Yi and Zhang Naipeo were rivals, and he sat with Lin Yi before, so it was inevitable that Zhang Naipeo would treat him as an enemy. The enemy of an enemy was a friend, and this disciple of the Holy Fist Palace had crippled his companion, so he must hate Zhang Naipeo to the core. The disciple of the Holy Fist Palace was stunned. He didn't expect that someone would take the initiative to recruit him. The disciples of other sects avoided him, afraid that they would provoke Zhang Naipeo's revenge. He was thinking about whether he should continue to participate in the test, when someone called him. Hello, are you calling me? The disciple of the Holy Fist Palace pointed at himself and asked with uncertainty. Of course, I am Feng Shizhang, a sky-class early-stage spiritual master, a disciple of the ancient Feng family. May I know your name, young hero? Feng Shizhang asked with a smile. My name is Li Siba. I am from the Holy Fist Palace, a sky-class mid-stage spiritual master. Li Siba said with fear and trepidation. Usually, the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace was very arrogant. Although the other party was a disciple of the ancient Feng family, he was only a sky-class early stage, so he would definitely look down on him. However, the situation was different now. Feng Shizhang took the initiative to talk to him, which was already giving him a lot of face. Haha, young hero Li, sit down. Let me introduce you to the others. Feng Shizhang pointed at Lin Yi and said, This is young hero Lin, a late-stage Earth-class master. Speaking of Lin Yi's strength, Li Siba's eyes flashed with disappointment. In his opinion, Lin Yi's strength was too low. Among the people here, Feng Shizhang was the strongest, but it was impossible for him to compete with Zhang Naipeo and the others. Young hero Li, don't underestimate Brother Lin. Although Brother Lin is only a late-stage Earth-class master, he just destroyed a mid-stage Sky-class subordinate of Zhang Naipeo with one move. So Brother Lin's strength is the strongest among us. Feng Shizhang also saw Li Siba's disdain and explained. He even respectfully called Lin Yi Brother Lin. Ah! Li Siba was stunned and looked at Lin Yi in horror. Chapter 5977. Li Siba, of course, knew how strong Zhang Naipeo's men were. They were real heaven-class masters, and Lin Yi could cripple them in one move? What kind of terrifying strength was this? He had suffered under Zhang Naipeo's hands before, and he knew how strong they were. Although he was also a heaven-class master, he didn't get the upper hand against 2 of Naipeo's men. If he didn't run fast enough, he might have been crippled. But he didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to cripple Naipeo's men. And he was still eating here as if nothing had happened. It was unbelievable. Li Siba greets young hero Lin. Brother Lin, you are really my idol. Brother Lin, you may already know that our Holy Fist Palace disciple suffered under Zhang Naipeo's hands, and I thought there was no hope for revenge. I didn't expect Brother Lin to help me vent my anger. I'm so grateful. Li Siba looked at Lin Yi with admiration. Zhang Naipeo and I are enemies, and I crippled him in the ice palace last time. It's normal for him to come looking for trouble. It's not like it has anything to do with you. Lin Yi said nonchalantly with a wave of his hand. Damn, brother Lin, you are so strong? You crippled Zhang Naipeo last time. Did you cripple Feng Nitian as well? Li Siba suddenly turned to look at Feng Shipian. He didn't know why Feng Shipian was sitting with Lin Yi. Didn't Lin Yi cripple someone from the Fengs? Don't look at me like that, brother Li. I know my cousin very well. He's arrogant and domineering. He tried to rob brother Lin's treasures in the Ice Palace trial. And he got crippled by brother Lin. He deserved it. Feng Shipian shook his head and said, This doesn't affect my relationship with brother Lin. In actuality, Feng Shipian wasn't an idiot at all. He came here to get medicine for Nitian, but he didn't show any hostility towards the person who injured Nitian. Instead, he showed friendliness. This was enough to show that Feng Shipian was the type of person who looked like a fool. I see. Li Siba nodded. Since brother Lin is so strong, why don't we nominate brother Lin to be our captain? We'll form a team and join the trial under brother Lin's leadership. I think it's a good idea. Gu Xian also admired Lin Yi and nodded in agreement. Of course, I have no problem with that. With brother Lin leading us, our team is like a tiger that has grown wings. Feng Shipian said with a smile. Lin Yi is my boss, I'll be fine. Qikuan said. Therefore, Lin Yi inexplicably became the leader of the group, which made him feel somewhat helpless. By the way, Ci Ba, where are the two disciples who came with you from? It seems like he's on guard against you. Lin Yi asked. Since everyone had elected him as the team leader, he wouldn't decline, and just called Li Siba Siba. Those two are from the Dark Palace, average strength, Earth class mid-phase. Of course, it's not that I look down on Earth classes. A master like brother Lin is even stronger than us Sky class masters. Siba was worried that Lin Yi wouldn't be happy, so he added, These two were trying to get on our good side on the way here, wanting to join me and my disciple, but then we met Zhang Naipeo, and my disciple was crippled, so the two of them just kept their distance from us. A disciple of the Dark Palace? Lin Yi had heard of the Dark Palace before. Back when Lin Yi came back from West Star Mountain, Lin Yi had heard of them before. All of a sudden, Lin Yi felt a headache. Lin Yi remembered the trip to West Star Mountain, and suddenly felt like his memories were a little fragmented. There were a lot of things missing, but he just couldn't remember them. Brother Lin, what's wrong? Do you have a grudge against the Dark Palace? Li Siba saw the frown on Lin Yi's face, and thought that Lin Yi had a grudge against them. Do you need me to teach them a lesson? Nope, don't do anything stupid. Lin Yi waved his hand. I was just thinking about something else, it's nothing. Alright. Li Siba had wanted to show off in front of Lin Yi, but he didn't have the chance. After a while, more disciples came into the restaurant. Some that Gu Xian and the others knew, and some that they didn't. The one that caught Lin Yi's attention was a female disciple from the Ice Palace. Lin Yi thought that either Zhao Qijiu or Yu Bing would come, but they didn't. In truth, the Sky Elixir's test was full of danger, and both Yu Bing and Qijiu were people that Lin Yi had asked Xiaoxiao to take care of. Naturally, Xiaoxiao wouldn't let them come to such a dangerous test. Plus, Xiaoxiao didn't know that Lin Yi was going to participate in the Sky Elixir test. After all, the last time Lin Yi participated in the Sky Elixir test was a coincidence, and Lin Yi didn't have much to do with the Sky Elixir test. At first, Lin Yi thought that he wouldn't meet anyone he knew in the test, but then the door opened, and a cool girl in black tiptoed in carefully, not greeting anyone. She found a corner and sat down. Puffed. Lin Yi spat out the drink in his mouth when he saw who it was. Who else could it be other than Yang Qiqi? What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Yang Qiqi would participate in the test as well. What was she doing here? Was she here to trade for some medicine for her friend's illness? Bro Lin, what's wrong? Shipian asked curiously. Nothing, I just saw someone I know, Lin Yi said. Then tell her to come sit with us? Shipian said passionately. It's okay, she's a bit of a loner. We'll see. Lin Yi shook his head. Lin Yi understood Yang Qiqi's personality. If there wasn't anything, Lin Yi wouldn't bother her, lest she tried to kill him. After dinner, Lin Yi and the others went back to their rooms to rest. There were a lot of practitioners in the restaurant, and young Chi-Chi didn't notice Lin Yi. She left alone after dinner, and it seemed like she didn't have any friends here. Naipeo didn't know if it was because he was defeated by Lin Yi, but he didn't come back down after he went upstairs. He didn't eat either. Bro Lin, what's this spirit beast of yours? Why does it look like a pet? It shouldn't be of much use in this test, right? Gu Xian was a knowledgeable man, and he found the spirit beast in Lin Yi's hand strange. Chapter 5978. But now he had finally settled down. Although there were still dangers in his life, it was different from before. Lin Yi had a goal and a sense of existence. This was also the first time Lin Yi had looked at the 9th princess after Yuning. I've said it before, you are my team member. I will not give up on any team member. Lin Yi said. Chi-Chi suddenly felt that this sentence was familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it. She only thanked Lin Yi silently. She decided that if they could leave this place successfully, she would do everything she could to help Lin Yi find out what Lin Yi needed in Europe. Don't worry too much, there will be a way. Let's eat something first. Are you hungry? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, a little. Chi-Chi rubbed her stomach. She was worried that she wouldn't be able to leave this place, but after hearing what Lin Yi said, she was really hungry. Then wait for me here. I'll go catch some fish from the lake over there. Lin Yi said as he stood up and walked towards the lake that the pig had pointed him to. Chi-Chi looked at Lin Yi's back and felt very conflicted. She felt very guilty. She had treated Lin Yi badly, but Lin Yi didn't care and helped her every time she was in danger. Chi-Chi wasn't someone with a heart of stone. How could she not be touched? Naturally, Lin Yi didn't know that Chi-Chi's opinion of him had changed. He caught 4 or 5 fish in the lake and quickly went back to where he'd come from. He prepared the fish quickly and skillfully before putting them in a clean place and starting to roast them. Alright, eat. Lin Yi gave most of the fish to Chi-Chi, but only took one for himself. Why are you only eating one? Chi-Chi was a little embarrassed and asked. I'm a spiritual practitioner. He just needed to cultivate for a while. You are a physical cultivator, so your physical recovery is slower. Lin Yi said. Then, I won't hold back. Chi-Chi nodded. The difference between a spiritual practitioner and a physical practitioner was that spiritual practitioners could absorb the qi in the air and turn it into their own qi for their own use. Physical practitioners, on the other hand, had to train their body to achieve their goal. Although external experts, after cultivating a martial technique, could also use the surrounding spiritual qi for their own use when executing a martial technique. However, in terms of recovery speed, they were still inferior to internal cultivators. External martial cultivators exhausted their stamina slowly. This was because martial techniques used the spiritual energy in the surroundings. They did not need to use their own quintessence. There were pros and cons to both. However, if the external experts didn't use their martial skills, then they wouldn't be able to do so. Then, Naipeo's thorn arts would lose its effect. Naipeo's thorn arts could reflect 80% of the qi back to 240%, and if a physical practitioner didn't use any skills and just used their physical body to hit Naipeo, there wouldn't be a problem with the reflected qi. However, not to mention that the masters of the Holy Fist Palace did not know this situation before. Even if they knew, they could only hit Zhang Naipeo with the strength of their bodies. It wouldn't deal too much damage to Naipeo. After all, external experts were also dependable. He won by relying on his martial skills. This was also why external experts were no match for internal experts when they were at a lower level. Under normal circumstances, they would be stronger than inner sect experts of the same level. This was also because when external experts activated their martial skills, they mobilized the true energy around their bodies, unlike internal experts who emitted it from their bodies. The higher the level of external experts, the more spiritual energy they could mobilize, and naturally, the more powerful they would be. Young Chi-Chi had a good meal of grilled fish, and she sat on the ground in a daze, looking at the cliff. The sky was getting dark, But young Chi-Chi wasn't sleepy. She was trapped here, and she didn't know when she could get out. Linny, if we can't think of a way to get out when the time is up, will the 5 evils Chi invade our bodies and cause us to go crazy? Young Chi-Chi asked worriedly. I don't think so. I'll walk around again tomorrow to see if there's a way out, Linny said. Okay. Young Chi-Chi nodded. She didn't know why, but after going through so many things with Lin Yi, young Chi-Chi trusted him more and more. Lin Yi's words made her feel at ease. The next morning, the sun had just risen, and Lin Yi left to look for a way out. But after walking around for half a day, Lin Yi couldn't find a way. It seemed that Tian Chan was very familiar with this place, and if she said there was no way, then there was no way. If Tian Chan was here to accept the inheritance, then she must know a lot more about the 5 Evils Mountains than he did. And so Lin Yi gave up after not finding a way. He turned back to the lake and continued to catch fish. After catching a few fish, Lin Yi went back to the place where he and young Chi-Chi were, and continued grilling fish. Young Chi-Chi saw that Lin Yi was back, and couldn't just sit around and enjoy the fruits of his labor. What can I do for you? Why don't I clean up these fish? It's fine, I'm used to it. Just wait. Lin Yi shook his head, and started cleaning the fish with practiced ease. Yinjing City. A pack of cigarettes was quickly finished by Tianli. He tried his best to reduce the amount of cigarettes he smoked, but it didn't take long before there was only 1 pack left. Tianli picked up his phone, and was about to call Mr. Lang when his phone rang first. What surprised him was that it was Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang, I was just about to call you. Tianli smiled as he picked up the phone. Mr. Liu, are you panicking? You gave me the money, afraid that I'd run away? Xiaoqun smiled brightly. Haha, how could that be? Mr. Lang and I have a strategic partnership, and our medicine business is worth a few $100 million a year. Mr. Lang wouldn't be interested in $30 million. Tianli really didn't think that Mr. Lang would lie to him. On one hand, it was the hypnotist's work, and on the other, the 2 companies would be doing business for a few $100 million a year. Mr. Lang wouldn't be interested in this small amount of money. I was just joking, Mr. Liu. I have good news for you. Xiaoqun changed the topic. Oh, what good news? Do you have more cigarettes? Tianli paused and asked. Chapter 5979. Ah, it's already booked? None left. Tianli asked, shocked. Mr. Lang, I can't do that. You have to at least leave some for me. I'd rather make less money than keep some for myself. But the profit is very high. The price of a carton of cigarettes is about 10,000 yuan. I can sell it for more than 20,000 yuan. This batch of goods has a total of 2,000 cartons. Once I sell it, I can make a profit of 200%. Xiaoqun said. We invested 30 million, including the money we used to bribe the gangsters when we smuggled them in. That's 50 million worth of profit. That won't make much of a difference. Leave me 10, no 20. Tianli had thought that the cigarettes would be expensive, but it didn't seem too expensive after hearing the price. He breathed a sigh of relief and asked for more. 20? I'll try my best then. 10 should be fine. 20 depends on the situation. Xiaoqun hesitated for a moment and said, By the way, Mr. Liu, let's split the money we earned, about 13 million yuan each. Shall I transfer it to your company's account? Oh, just this one deal? You won't do it again in the future? Tianli paused. The profit was very tempting to him. He was the conservative type. He could keep his business, but starting a business was a bit difficult. Naturally, he didn't want to let go of this opportunity. Plus, these cigarettes had already become his daily necessities. If he didn't have these cigarettes, he couldn't imagine how he would be able to endure it. So subconsciously, Tianli hoped that this deal would continue. Crossing the border once and bribing the gangsters is too much. This time, I'm still using my connections. Next time, they'll probably have to pay 20 to 30 million before they're willing to help us smuggle the boats. That way there won't be much profit. I'm thinking about doing it once and then forget about it. Mr. Lang said. After all, our capital is limited. It's just a little bit. It's meaningless to do it again. Is that so? Tianli didn't understand the details of smuggling, either. He had always been doing proper business, and even when he was importing, it was through the official customs channels. He had never asked a smuggler to use a boat to smuggle, so he believed what Boss Lang said. But Tianli wasn't quite satisfied. Then should we increase the amount we import each time? Should we talk to those smugglers again? It's not impossible. Firstly, I'm afraid that it will take up too much of Director Lu's funds. Secondly, I'm afraid that Director Lu will think that this business isn't a proper path, and you won't be interested in it, Director Lang said. I can look into the funds, but as for this business, I'm not interested in such a huge profit. How is that possible? Tianli said. How about this, Mr. Lang, where are you? I'll go find you and we can talk about it in detail. I'm in the hotel. I'll take Xiao Chui to your company to talk about it. The goods are pretty much organized, but there's something else I want to discuss with you. We're going to do it. How about a big one? Xiao Chun asked. A big one? What do you mean? How did you make it big? Tianli paused. How about this? I'll go with Chui, and we'll talk about it in your company. Xiao Chun said. All right, I'll wait for Mr. Lang's arrival at the company, Tianli said quickly. This time, Xiao Chun and Chui Mianshi came very quickly. Less than 20 minutes after hanging up, they arrived at Tianli's company's guest room. Chapter 5980. Qibing didn't think that Yui would be so stubborn. No matter what he said, he'd be so cold and indifferent. He had no choice but to say, Fine, I'll leave then. If you don't want to listen, then don't listen. Humph. Yui snorted coldly and answered Qibing's question. Qibing had no choice but to turn around and get in the car. He said to Qikuan, You drive, my head is broken. Serves you right. Who told you to be a busybody? Qikuan said sarcastically as he got in the driver's seat, started the car, and left quickly. Mr. Yui, why did you help me? It's Ning. Linny was injured, but it wasn't to the point where he couldn't speak. With curiosity, Linny asked. But Yui didn't give Linny any answer. He turned around and left. Yui's sudden arrival, help, and abrupt departure confused Linny. But among the people present, there was one person who understood why Yui would help. And that person was Yushu. But Yushu couldn't reveal anything. She squatted down and held Lin Yi's hand. Shield bro, how are you? Yeah, Lin Yi, how did you get hurt like this? I'll carry you back to your room to heal. Meng Yao said quickly. Okay. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Even if he went back to his room, he wouldn't be able to heal. He couldn't use the arts, so how could he heal? Even with General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig, the two spirit beasts from the same sect, Lin Yi couldn't get pure energy from them with his practitioner's arts suppressed. It was a dead end. If Qibing hadn't suggested breaking Lin Yi's dantian, Lin Yi could have used the Qi gathering pill to level up and break through to Sky class. Then he could have used the art of dragon mastery to heal his meridians. Even if he didn't have the pill, he could use General Weiwu or Skybolt Pig to recover. But Qibing had messed up Lin Yi's plans. One had to admit that Qibing was quite the schemer, putting Lin Yi in a very difficult position. Meng Yao and Yushu carried Lin Yi back to his room helpless. But Lin Yi smiled and comforted. Shu, why are you wearing the mid-level golden cicada underwear? Lin Yi remembered that he had put away the mid-level golden cicada underwear after coming back from the Sky Elixir sect. He didn't think that Shu would have taken it out. Luckily, she wore it, or he wouldn't have been able to take that punch from Qibing. Although Yui had stopped Qibing, it had to be said that the mid-level golden cicada underwear played a decisive role. As for Yui's appearance, although Lin Yi didn't understand, he was grateful. If it wasn't for him, Qibing would have turned his target to Meng Yao. Yushu had the mid-level golden cicada underwear, but Meng Yao didn't. If Qibing really hit Meng Yao, the consequences would have been unimaginable. I don't know. Shu thought it was fun, so I put it on. I didn't think that Prophet Shu was this good. Yushu didn't know that Lin Yi couldn't recover, so her tone was relaxed. There wasn't a trace of sadness. I see. Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Yushu told him to be careful before he went to the hidden house Zhao's banquet. He didn't think much of it, but now it seemed that Yushu's prophecy ability was really. At that thought, Lin Yi regretted trusting Qikuan too much. After all, even Qikuan could make mistakes sometimes. But this time, Elder Zhao was willing to sacrifice 200 million to join Lin Yi's side. Lin Yi really didn't expect him to play tricks like this. Shield bro, I'll be leaving with Yao Yao first. You can heal yourself first. You can tell us what happened today after you're healed, Yushu said. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Yushu was about to pull Meng Yao away when Meng Yao stopped in her tracks. Wait. What's wrong, Yao Yao? Yushu blinked. Meng Yao turned around and looked at Lin Yi. Wait, Lin Yi. Are you hiding something from us? Your injuries. Are they serious? The miss was very clever. Other than the time he resigned, when Lin Yi was injured, he always recovered quickly. Even if he couldn't fully recover, Lin Yi's broken arms and legs would recover. But Lin Yi had been home for a while now, and his injuries didn't seem to be recovering at all. Plus, Lin Yi didn't ask for General Weiwu or Skybolt Pig to come. This made Meng Yao suspicious. Lin Yi's injuries might be more serious than she thought. Oh yeah. Yushu reacted as well, frowning. Shield bro, what's going on? Seeing the miss and Shu's expressions, Lin Yi knew that he couldn't hide it anymore. They were starting to get suspicious. Lin Yi could only tell them the truth. That's right this time. It's more serious than I thought. I'm temporarily crippled. Lin Yi didn't hide anything from these two girls who were closest to him. Lin Yi knew that even if House Zhao could lie to him, Meng Yao and Yushu wouldn't. So Lin Yi told them what happened today. When Meng Yao and Yushu heard that Lin Yi was poisoned, they were shocked and uneasy. Even Lin Yi couldn't cure the poison. What could they do? Besides, Lin Yi's dantian was broken, and no medicine would work on him. It was the same as walking on the road to death. Don't worry, it's serious, but it might not be as bad as you think. Maybe there's a solution. Lin Yi saw their sad expressions and smiled. Do me a favor, call Guan Xueming Professor Guan. And then call Boss Bai and Mr. Bai. Tell them to come to the villa and think of a solution. With Grandpa Guan's medical skills, the wounds on my body won't be a problem for him. It might take a while to recover, but it'll be fine. As for the meridians and dantian, I'll need Mr. Bai's help. There's almost no hope of curing the poison. I can't get the food from Zhao Qibing, and I can't analyze it. Yeah, I didn't think that Zhao Qikuan would betray us too, Meng Yao complained. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't have gone to the banquet. Chapter 5981. Qianpuguang's words were meant to mock the Blood Cloak ancestor. However, he hadn't expected that the Blood Cloak ancestor would nod his head and say, That's right. The Blood Cloak Yellow Spring sect does have a strong background and a strong backer. Of course, we are not afraid that someone will come to seek revenge. Huh. Qianpuguang was slightly stunned and then laughed even harder. Did you hear that? These three old guys said that they have a backer and a strong background. Ha 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 ha. I say, have you heard that the Blood Cloak Underworld sect has a strong backer? No. Dongfang Badeo simply shook his head. What about our friends from the Everyday and Everyday sect? You are one of the oldest ancient sections. Have you heard of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect's backer? Qianpuguang turned to look at Pure Yang Heavenly Venerate and continued to ask. No. Pure Yang Heavenly Venerate also shook his head. Haha, Blood Cloak ancestor, you are really funny. At this time, you still want to lie to us. Do you think that we are stupid and believe that Lin Yi can fight people of a higher level? Do you think we will believe it a second time? Qianpuguang said mockingly. Since you have a backer, we won't kill you first. We'll give you a chance to ask for a backer. Call your backer out, and we'll talk to him. Let's see what kind of idiot dares to be your backer. Okay, that's fine. The blood-clothed ancestor nodded seriously. Then he said nothing more. After listening to Blood Cloak ancestor's words, Qianpuguang was stunned, but he still waited patiently for the next part. However, after waiting for a long time, Blood Cloak ancestor did not continue to say anything, so he asked impatiently, Where is he? Your backer? Why aren't you moving? He is far away but close at hand. Blood Cloak ancestor made an introduction gesture and pointed at Lin Dongfang. At this moment, Lin Dongfang was sitting with his back to the people, so these people had been in for so long and directly ignored him. What? Qianpuguang's eyes widened, and then he laughed until he was out of breath. Ha 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 ha, I say, are you guys serious? You randomly found a village man and told me that he is your backer? Don't tell me this old farmer is your backer? Yes. Bloodcloak ancestor nodded and said, Mr. Dongfang is the boss behind the Bloodcloak underworld sect. Ft. Cough cough cough. Qian Buoguang almost burst out laughing. Mr. Dongfang? Don't tell me he's from the Dongfang family? The head of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Badeo, is here. Oh no, his name is Dongfang. As for his surname, you don't deserve to know. Ancestor Bloodclothed said faintly. Lin Dongfang had never publicly revealed his name in the ancient times. Only a few people who were close to him knew his name. Really? Mr. Dongfang. Then stand up and show us why you dare to be the backer of the Bloodcloak underworld sect. Since you are the boss behind the scenes, we will let you pay for this. Qian Buoguang still did not believe that Lin Dongfang was the backer and the boss behind the scenes of the Bloodcloak underworld sect. The reason was very simple. In his opinion, the old farmer was a temporary scapegoat found by the Bloodcloak underworld sect. Perhaps Ancestor Bloodclothed and the others were delusional enough to push this person out so that they could be killed by Qian Buoguang and the others so that they could avoid their punishment. They underestimated the intelligence of Qian Buoguang and the others. Well, since you all want to talk to me, then I will talk to you. Lin Dongfang smiled slightly and stood up from his seat. At this moment, the laziness of a village doctor was gone. Instead, it was replaced by a kind of domineering and indifference of a superior. Hearing old Lin's pretentious words, Qian Buoguang laughed again. Behind him, the people who came with him were basically thinking that the old farmer was a scapegoat found by the Bloodcloak underworld sect. However, the old farmer did not know that he was about to die. Lin Dongfang stood up and slowly turned around. His bright eyes stared at the people who came to the grocery store. There were new faces and old faces. For a moment, he was filled with emotions. You are. The first person who recognized Lin Dongfang was actually Zhong Pingliang. But it was no wonder. How could he forget the person who killed him with one punch? What a terrifying memory it was. He, the Mad Dragon ancestor, a peak late-stage heaven-class great perfection expert, was actually killed with one punch? Who would believe it? However, this had really happened and existed more than a decade ago. During the years in the tomb, the person in front of him was the Mad Dragon ancestor's nightmare. Even after the Mad Dragon ancestor came back to life with Zhong Pingliang's body, the person in front of him was one of the people he didn't want to see the most in his life. Yes, it was too tragic. Zhong Pingliang looked at the person in front of him and didn't even have the slightest intention to fight back. This was the absolute difference in strength, an insurmountable moat. It was different from the grudge between him and Lin Yi. Zhong Pingliang and Lin Yi, no matter what, had the same starting line. They were both high school classmates. He felt that he had the ability to kill Lin Yi. But this person in front of him, Zhong Pingliang felt that even if he trained for 100 years, it would be a waste. Even if he really ascended to Heavenly Tao, he probably wouldn't be this person's opponent. After all, this person was said to be a Heavenly Tao master 10 years ago, or maybe even higher. Lin Dongfang looked at Zhong Pingliang suspiciously. He didn't know this person, nor had he seen him before, but he did see the person next to Zhong Pingliang. Guangniu, right? I haven't seen you for more than a decade. What are you doing here? Lin Dongfang smiled at Guangniu ancestor and asked. Ugh. Guangniu ancestor broke out in a cold sweat. He also recognized who this person was. Wasn't this one of the killer Vidra? Why was he here? Didn't he disappear? Did he bring a group of people to Heavenly Tao? But no matter how Lin Dongfang appeared here, Guangniu ancestor was trembling in fear. But he didn't dare to ignore Lin Dongfang's question. He had no choice, his mind raced. Guangniu ancestor suddenly saw the bucket of soy sauce in the grocery store and was overjoyed. He quickly said, Mr. Dongfang, I'm here to buy soy sauce. Chapter 5982. The reaction of the Mad Bull Patriarch made the people present stunned, and his performance finally made Dongfang Badeo, and another elder of the Black Horse Club, who was silent all the way and did not say a word, recognized Lin Dongfang. Of course, it was not that they didn't want to recognize him before, but they didn't dare to recognize him. After all, there were too many similar people in this world. They didn't want the person in front of them to be that person. If the person in front of them was that person, then he was the behind-the-scenes boss of the blood-shirt underworld sect. Then what revenge could they take? It was good enough to go back. This little friend, do we know each other? Lin Dongfang looked at Zhong Pingliang and asked with some doubts. Among them, in addition to Zhong Pingliang, Qian Boguang of the Black Horse Club, and the pure young Tianzuan of the Day and Everyday sect, he had an impression of the others. He had seen them more than 10 years ago. I. Zhong Pingliang said the word, I 3 times. And he was so scared that his legs went soft, and his eyes went black. He fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth and fainted. He was scared and fainted. Lin Dongfang was stunned. He had never seen the little friend in front of him. But this person fainted directly, which made Lin Dongfang very puzzled. Let's go out and talk. Lin Dongfang didn't want to expose his identity in the village, which was not in line with his purpose of living in seclusion, so he didn't wait for anyone to speak, and took the lead to go out of the grocery store, and the Bloodshirt ancestor, the Yellow Spring ancestor, and the Ensign ancestor followed him out of the grocery store. The Mad Bull ancestor looked at Zhong Pingliang who fainted on the ground, but he wouldn't laugh at him. After all, the big brother, the Mad Dragon ancestor, died under the fist of this person. It was inevitable that he would be scared when he saw the person who sent him to heaven again. Picking up Zhong Pingliang, the Mad Dragon ancestor took the lead to go out of the grocery store. Although the pure young Tianzuan had never talked to Lin Dongfang in the past, he had seen this person's appearance and ruthlessness from a distance, so he was also scared at this time. Seeing the Mad Bull ancestor go out, he quickly followed. The remaining Dongfang Badeo and the elder of the Black Horse Club also followed out of the grocery store. The president of the Black Horse Club, Qian Boguang, was very inexplicable at the moment. What was wrong with these people? Why didn't he say anything when he saw an old farmer from the mountains? Could it be that this old farmer was an expert? But, even if this old farmer is a peak late-stage heaven rank expert, is there a need to be so afraid? Including this old farmer, the Bloodcloth Yellow Spring sect only had 3 peak late-stage perfect experts, and 1 peak late-stage perfect expert. On their side, they had 4 peak late-stage perfect experts, and 1 peak late-stage perfect expert. The advantage was very obvious. However, since everyone had left, Qian Boguang could only be the last to leave the grocery store with doubts in his mind. Only Widow Wang, who had sold a bottle of soy sauce at a sky-high price, was left behind. She looked at the group of people leaving in confusion. Just now, Ancestral Master Wild Bull had bought a bottle of soy sauce and had given her 100 yuan. Widow Wang was stunned for a long time. When she came to her senses, these people had already left. Widow Wang felt that they were filming a TV show. What kind of sect was this? Was this a martial arts movie? After all, these things were too far away for a rural woman like her. She had never thought that these things were real, so she just threw them to the back of her mind. In her opinion, Old Lin was probably a guest actor. Otherwise, how could he scold these people with just a few words and make them so scared that they didn't dare to speak? This must have been planned in advance in the script. Otherwise, how could a village doctor have such great ability? Thinking about how she had sold a bottle of soy sauce, she wondered if she would have a chance to appear on TV. If there were really scenes of her on TV, then she would be famous. Thinking of this, Widow Wang suddenly became proud. She hummed a little tune and kept the 100 yuan. Of course, she was really ignorant. There wasn't even a cameraman here. How could it be a TV show? But she didn't have much experience, so how would she know these things? Therefore, she was prepared to see Old Lin again and ask him when the TV show would be aired. Lin Dongfang took the lead and walked in front. His pace was very fast. Although he wasn't a practitioner, his speed wasn't slow. Very soon he arrived at West Star Mountain, not far from the fountain. Lin Dongfang came here with a plan. After all, there were so many people, and with his current stamina, he couldn't beat all of them. At most, he could beat 2 or 3. But after that, he would have to drink the fountain water to replenish himself. Otherwise, his body would be abnormally weak like Air Gooden. At that time, his weakness would be exposed. So this fountain water was used to save his life. Since there was no one else here, Lin Dongfang decided to be frank. He looked at the people behind him and said, "The 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect are my servants. What they do is also tacitly approved by me. If you have any opinions, you can tell me." At this time, Pinliang had finally woken up after the long journey of Master Kuangyo. But after hearing Lin Dongfang's words, he almost fainted again. He quickly said, no objections, haha. How could we have any objections? Haha, why didn't you say so earlier? Bloody shirt, yellow spring-een sun. You're all Mr. Dongfang's servants. Then can you take me as a servant too? Haha, little brother is fine too. I don't have any plans to take in little brothers yet. Lin Dongfang looked at Pinliang, his expression becoming more and more strange. Who was this person? Where did he come from? Pinliang's words echoed in the ears of most of the people present. It was no wonder that these people had witnessed Lin Dongfang's power in the past. But there were a few who didn't know who Lin Dongfang was. This was the leader of the Black Horse Gang, Qian Buguang. Back then, he wasn't the leader of the Black Horse Gang yet. He was just a normal elder on a mission outside. So he wasn't afraid of Lin Dongfang at all. Pinliang might be scared shitless and wanted to be Lin Dongfang's servant. But in Qian Buguang's eyes, Pinliang was just a strategist, a normal earth class. It wasn't surprising that he was timid. What's wrong with you guys? Who is this old thing? Didn't we agree to kill the gloomy elder together now? Qian Buguang started panicking when he saw that no one was moving. Chapter 5983. Previously, the Murloc had expected to write about 200 chapters for the Heaven Stage Island part. However, the Murloc had done a reader survey and voted on the pages. According to the results, many readers wanted to write more about the Heaven Stage Island and Yanhuang Star parts. Therefore, the Murloc had changed the plan for the School Bells fans and would write about this part of the plot in detail. To be honest, the subscription for the new book was better than the School Bells. But the Murloc would work hard to write for the School Bells fans. Before the end, it would not be less than 2 chapters a day. The Murloc would give the School Bell a perfect and wonderful ending of the trilogy. Li Boyang Boss would end. The 3rd chapter had always been the Murloc's promise. It would be restored when they landed on the Heaven Stage Island. There were 150,000 manuscripts for the Heaven Stage Island part, which was enough to deal with accidents when they could not write. Regarding this part of the transition, the Murloc had written a part of the Secular World manuscript in the first month of the year. He planned to deal with things that could not be updated after the little Murloc was born. But at that time, there were many holes that he did not think of. After all, the book was too long, and the Murloc was not a computer. He ignored some things. As a result, when he saw a hole that was not filled in by a reader, the Murloc realized that many parts of the manuscript had to be rewritten. Filling in the holes was much more time-consuming than developing the plot, so the speed could not be sped up. After all, whether or not Lin Yi could refine the foundation-breaking pill was directly related to whether or not he could shoulder Lu Bianren's entrustment in the future. When facing Meng Jueguang, a bitter senior brother in the early stage of foundation building, and a bitter senior brother in the peak of the early stage of foundation building had completely different meanings. The foundation establishment barrier-breaking pill was senior martial brother's only hope for a breakthrough. If Lin Yi was unable to successfully refine it, then his hope would be reduced to a bubble. Apart from Lin Yi, if he wanted to refine pills, he could only look for the Dan Hall. Even if Lin Yi had given him 30 pieces of spiritual jades last night, in addition to the spiritual jades he had accumulated, it was still far from enough for the 200 spiritual jades required by the Dan Hall. Not to mention that even if 200 spirit jades were gathered, the Pill Hall's pill masters might not be able to refine it successfully. While waiting anxiously, seeing that the sky was bright, The bitter senior marshal brother was pondering whether he should go to the Spirit Jade Hall to ask for a day's leave for Lin Yi, when the door to the number 14 Immortals cave at the foot of the mountain finally opened, and Lin Yi walked out. Senior brother Ku, you didn't stay here all night, did you? Lin Yi asked in surprise when he saw senior brother Ku Bai waiting at the door. Hey, I'm just nervous. Anyway, I can't rest when I go back, so I might as well wait here. Senior brother Ku smiled awkwardly, and then said nervously, How is it? Did you succeed? It was rare for senior brother Bitter to be so nervous. Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head and laugh, causing the senior brother's heart to instantly constrict when he saw this, and he stammered, You failed? But it's nothing much, it's just a dozen or so spiritual jades. Senior apprentice brother thought about it bitterly. If he failed, he would at most lose some materials. It was really nothing much. Lin Yi didn't say anything. He stretched out his hand, and 2 snow-white pills appeared on his palm. The fragrance of the pills was overwhelming, and their shape was the well-known foundation-breaking pill. Gulp. Senior marshal brother Ku Bai swallowed a mouthful of saliva. At first, he was in disbelief, but after confirming it, he was overjoyed and said, You actually succeeded? Junior brother Lin, you're really something. No wonder even senior brother Lu praised you for hiding your strength. To be honest, although he was hoping that Lin Yi would succeed, senior marshal brother Ku Bai still felt that Lin Yi might not be able to compare to the elixir refiners from the pill hall. After all, those people were the mainstream of the north, and while Lin Yi was also a refiner, he came from the common world. He wasn't on the same level as these people. If the success rate of these refiners from the north was so low, then the success rate of Lin Yi, a common world refiner, would be even lower. He didn't think that in just one night, Lin Yi would be able to take out 2 foundation-breaking pills at once. It was like a dream. It wasn't that senior marshal brother Ku Bai looked down on the common world of practitioners, but it was the truth. In terms of foundation, the common world of practitioners was on a completely different level from Sky-class Island, and elixir refinement was precisely where foundation was needed the most. According to what senior marshal brother Ku Bai knew, in the common world of practitioners, there was only one person who could look down on the local refiners of Sky-class Island. The miracle doctor, Zhang Liju. What he didn't know, however, was that the Lin Yi standing in front of him right now was Zhang Liju's disciple. Lin Yi grinned and handed the 2 elixirs to Ku Bai Shixiang. 2 barrier-breaking elixirs. This should be enough to ensure that you can break through the barrier. Unexpectedly, senior marshal brother Ku Bai only took 1 and said gratefully, "1 is enough for me. You can keep the rest for yourself. You'll need to use it sooner or later." Seeing that Lin Yi still wanted to reject, senior marshal brother Ku Bai quickly said, "If it was someone else from the pill hall, if they successfully made 2 pills at once, not only would they have to keep 1, but I'd also have to pay 200 spirit jades in advance. I'm already getting a huge advantage from this. So please don't reject me, junior marshal brother Lin. Otherwise I won't be able to rest easy." "Haha, senior marshal brother Ku Bai. When did I tell you that I only made 2 foundation-breaking pills?" Lin Yi asked with a smile. "Ha, more than 2. Could it be 3? Senior marshal brother Ku Bai's brain stopped working. He only provided 3 sets of ingredients, and Lin Yi successfully made 3 foundation-breaking pills in one go. Didn't that mean that he had a 100% success rate? Even if Lin Yi said that using waste jades could increase the success rate, wasn't that too much of an exaggeration? If this were to spread, those so-called refiners from the pill hall would be embarrassed to death. At this point, senior marshal brother Ku Bai, who was overjoyed, didn't even realize that the 2 foundation-breaking pills that Lin Yi gave him had rings of pill halo. Even if it was the same type of pill, there was a world of difference between those with pill halo and those without. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.